Well, I'm so glad you guys decided to join us. I think it's time that we take a little walk down memory lane and explore some of our favorite channel moments from 2023. So grab your favorite hot
or cold
beverages and let's get started.
We and our members have proven over and over that we can build a blog to a full-time income in 2 years, but now I'm about to do it in 1. But this is not going to be easy. Google's been shaking things up. AI is trying to replace bloggers. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to do this. Last year, I told you how I'd go about getting to $4,000 a month on a blog, cutting our normal time in half. But this year, I'm not just going to show you how I would do it. I'm going to show you how I am doing it. So here are the rules of the challenge. First of all, I have to build a site to at least $4,000 in a single month, okay? I also don't get to reveal this site to you, to any of my existing audience. I have to build it organically or it really wouldn't be a fair challenge. Now, any comments that I see that reveal the site, if anybody out there finds it on their own, those are gonna get deleted from our videos, and we're gonna have to block you from commenting anywhere else on the channel. So you can say goodbye to any future comment contest winnings. Now, if I don't make it, then obviously I get the shame of failing publicly. My team and even my wife don't think that's good enough. So here's the deal. For every $100 below the $4,000 goal, I'm going to have to run a mile. It means I could easily end up having to run a marathon. So I better get training, just in case. Actually, I'm filming a video right now, so I'll just train later. I'm sure there'll be time. I don't really feel like running anyway. So let's talk about the goals. There are a few goals that if we can hit them, we're going to succeed here. To get to $4,000 a month, and in my video last year, I went through this math for you, so you can go watch that if you want to. But in a study I did about a year ago, survey of you and Project 24 members, I found that on average, you're all earning about $32.82 per 1,000 page views on your website. Using that number, and that number lines up with what we're still seeing today, it means that I need 121,877 page views per month on this website. To get that, we need to know how much traffic we can get per post so we know exactly what we need to do. And in that same survey, I found that on average, your sites are getting about 715 page views per blog post. Our goal here is typically to shoot for about 1,000. For Project 24 members, anything over 500 is pretty good. So this might be a little bit of a stretch, but given that number, I need to write 170 blog posts. And I need to not just write them all this year, I need to write them all soon enough that they have opportunity to be indexed, ranked, and be getting real traffic, and be monetized and making good money before the end of the year. I got a lot to do, so I'm gonna need to front load a lot of that content. Now, there's only one of these goals that is directly in my control, and that's the amount of content. That's the only one I can control. The rest of these, I can only influence. So what do we need to do? We need to give ourselves every opportunity possible to be successful at achieving these numbers, or maybe even beating all of those numbers. So this is what the plan looks like. We're going to start with search analysis. Search analysis is really kind of the starting point with all of our websites. Essentially what we want to do is identify the search queries, the things people are typing in to Google search, that we can create content that answers their questions. We need to make sure that all of the content we create fits a query in some way. But here I said start with 3. This is really key. Now, search analysis is something we're actually going to do throughout the whole process. I don't like to do it all up front because I like to see how the first blog posts start to perform to give me a better indication of what's going to work better in the future. So I do a little bit of search analysis every time I'm going to write a new batch of content. With our search analysis, when we start a new website, we don't want to take the niche that we picked and spread our content out across the whole niche. That is a huge mistake. In fact, we proved that with an experiment that we ran starting 2 years ago and that we've been talking about a lot on this channel. The flip side of that is what we call topical authority. And that is where we take more specific topics and we have enough content about those that the content itself makes us an authority on that topic. And so we're going to focus on that. We're going to pick just 3 aspects of the niche and create at least the first 30, if not the first 60 blog posts all about just those 3 subtopics within the niche. So that's first, search analysis. The next thing here is content creation, specifically written content creation. We need to write blog posts, and I want to write all 170 blog posts that are kind of the minimum for this year. I want to write them in the first 3 months. That is like almost 2 blog posts a day. And so I am going to use a little bit of help to do this. I am going to outsource some of this work to writers. However, I've found that when we outsource large amounts of content to writers, and then we just publish it all on our website, it doesn't perform very well. Google doesn't like to see content, and they specifically mentioned this in the most recent helpful content update, as well as the one back in September. They don't like to see what looks like mass-produced content. So if we're going to outsource content, we need to make sure that we take the time to go through that content, make sure that it fits within the rest of the website. I want to make sure to go through every one of those blog posts and make sure that they're just up to the quality standard, they're properly interlinked, they're all in my name before ever hitting publish, because we don't want to send any sign to Google that this content may have just been mass produced, which isn't really what we're going for here. After those initial 170 blog posts, I will definitely be adding more content throughout the year to the website, but I'll be able to be a lot more strategic about what content I add, because we're going to be able to see the results of this content in both Google Analytics and Google Search Console. All of this is stuff that I'm going to talk to you about as I do it throughout the year. So I'm really excited to get to kind of pull you along this journey throughout the year, even though I'm not going to be revealing the specific website yet. Okay, next is video. Now, video is something that we've addressed a little bit here on this channel. It was part of our plan last year. This is going to be, I think, one of the most beneficial things I can do to help meet this audacious goal. It's going to be hard. Like I said before, I really don't know if we're going to be able to make it, but video is one of the things that can really help us. What I'm not talking about doing is creating a YouTube channel and trying to build a big following there. I am talking about creating a channel and publishing videos that supplement the blog content on my website. For every video I create, I want to be able to point people to a resource on the blog that coincides with that video. Likewise, in those blog posts, I want to have a reason to embed those same videos on the blog post. There's a huge benefit here, and that is that Google is showing more and more videos in Google search, not just YouTube search. Google wants people to watch video content. And honestly, people like video content because in many cases, that visual format offers them better information than what they can just read. So we're definitely going to be making supplementary videos. I'm excited when I finally get to reveal the niche to you at the end for you to be able to see exactly how I did that. But we'll probably do some of that on our charity site as well. So if you want to see that as we're going, make sure you follow Project Charity as well. Next, let's talk for a minute about monetization. This is something that's going to be done throughout the entire process. In the very beginning, in order to make sure that I have the best opportunity to make a good income from this website, I am going to monetize from the start, which isn't really something I'd normally recommend. I would normally have you create some content first, but because I'm going to be leaning a little bit on other writers to help me with content, I'm going to dedicate some time to this. Here's the approach, though, I'm going to take from the beginning. I'm going to pick a handful of products that fit within these first 3 sub-topics of my niche. I'm going to pick some products that I want to promote because I know about them, because I use them. This is a niche that is something that it's a part of my life, and so it's something I can easily talk about. And these are products that I'll probably recommend in a lot of the content. I don't want to be spamming affiliate links all over the place, but when I have just a few specific products that I kind of become associated with because of how much I talk about them and how much I use them in the content, it makes it a much easier sell, okay? If you don't know, I have another video on this channel that I published recently that talks about 4 different strategies for affiliate marketing. I will be implementing all of those on this website over the course of the year. But I'm going to start out with a few specific products that I want to be associated with. Here's the other little tip. I'm not only going to pick products that I can be an affiliate for today. If one of the products that I want to recommend is not on Amazon, but it has an affiliate program somewhere, or really even if it doesn't, I want to recommend those products from the start. And if I'm not an affiliate, I can say right there in the article, I'm not an affiliate for this product. It's just a product that I really recommend for this particular use. It's going to be helpful for you. Over time, as you start to get more traffic on the website, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be approved for other affiliate programs that do have those products for you. The next is ads. I'm probably going to wait till about month 3 or 4 before I start worrying about ads. At a minimum, I want 1,000 page views per month on my website, but probably closer to 10,000 page views a month before the ads really start to make any real difference from an income standpoint. Honestly, I want to give my website the best chance to grow without ads on it in the very beginning. So we're going to start without ads, but ads can be a great way to earn an income. And as we have video content on our website, once we start having ads, Ezoic has their own video player and it's awesome. I can upload my videos to Ezoic and embed the Ezoic version of my video on my website and have the YouTube version of my video over on YouTube performing well in search. That's going to allow me to earn even more ad income from those videos that are embedded on the site than I would have earned if I just used the YouTube version. So it's a great way to make even more money from ads. If you're with Mediavine or AdThrive, they also have great video players. And so with a secondary website or with a more established website that you may have, that can be a great way to make a great income from your supplement videos. Third, I put info here. Honestly, to reach this goal, for a lot of bloggers, this number here looks high. They're not sure how they're gonna get there. In some niches, it's tough. I think in my niche, it's not gonna be that bad, but in case it is, I do wanna be prepared to be able to create and sell an info product because the income, the revenue potential from an info product is incredible. And so we're gonna set things up, and we'll talk about that in a second, to be able to sell an info product by hopefully about month 10 or month 11. Before that, I'm not gonna have that much traffic, but also I'm just not gonna have time to identify and create the right info product for this audience. Okay, now for some new stuff. This is stuff we didn't talk about in our plan last year, but that I think is really gonna help influence some of these that we have not direct control over, but only influence over. So this right here is the outreach, the industry outreach portion of the plan. Starting by month 6, possibly as early as month 4 in this plan, I'm gonna start participating in my industry. Well, what does that look like? Well, in the niche, I'm gonna definitely be able to participate in Facebook groups, subreddits, because those people are participating in groups there. They're asking questions on Quora. And so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna create a profile for each one of those where it's built on top of the niche that I'm in, where I'm gonna be able to talk about that. I'm gonna be able to answer questions, help people, ask questions, and just participate in general under the name of my brand. I'm also gonna start working on getting interviewed on podcasts. I'm gonna shoot for 1 a month, starting by about month 6. So I'm gonna start lining those up as early as I can. But nobody wants to interview you on your podcast until they see you have a website with some real content or a YouTube channel or whatever. So first I gotta build a real website. It's gotta look good, it's gotta look professional, and have good content on it. So that's first, but we're gonna get into this by about month 6. The next is just all of the other work we can do to build our EAT. Now, coming up soon on this channel, I'm gonna be interviewing Kyle Roof. Kyle knows a ton about SEO. He's done a bunch of studies himself where he's done real research where I'm talking about gathering data, testing things on a scale that most people have not been able to attain, right? So Kyle knows what he's talking about, and guess what we're talking about? We're talking about EAT, the factors that impact EAT and the things you need to be doing on your site to help ensure that you don't get hit by a future Google algorithm update, and that you hopefully recover from any that you've been hit by in the past. So based on the results of that interview, there will be some specific action items for this plan. Next is groups, community. The next thing I really want to do is build some community around this. And so I will be creating a group, possibly on Facebook. I will be creating an email newsletter, hopefully by around month 6 to month 8. Absolutely, I'm going to have a pretty good idea of which clusters of content on my website are doing the best. And based upon those, I can create a good lead magnet for that audience. And then I can create a good email newsletter, some good resources that they could receive via email that go above and beyond what they get just by being on the blog. They can join my online group, probably a Facebook group or something like that, to be able to be more engaged with my brand and other people that are in our community within our niche. And so I'm excited for that. These are some things that we don't always recommend to Project 24 members, but again, we've got to pull out all the stops and try some things. I want to experiment a little bit with this and figure out how I can do that in a way that doesn't suck up all my time, but still allows me to build real community. This is the plan, and I want you to be able to follow along with the plan. And so I'm making a page over on incomeschool.com. It will be incomeschool.com/project whatever we choose. Right now I called it Project Double Time for this video because it's the best that my brain was able to come up with. But I want to hear your ideas. What is the code name we should be using for this project? Project Double Time is because we're going twice as fast, right? We're going extra fast. But if you have something better, I want to hear it in the comments. And in the next video we make about this project, as well as really in the pinned comment for this video, once we have a sure name, I'll tell you the URL for the page where I'm going to be giving updates every single month about what we've accomplished and what the results have been. At the end of 12 months, I'm going to reveal what the website is. I'm going to show you the proof of my success. And if it doesn't happen, then I'm going to be running a lot, and you're going to get to see that as well. So I'll keep you updated on what's going on, and I'm going to tell you how I do these things, show you how I do these things, and talk about the results of each of those things throughout the year. So I hope you'll join me on this project and maybe consider taking whatever website you're working on today and stepping it up and doing your own Project Double Time or whatever we come up with. We'll see you all next time.
Just wow, it's amazing to think that was an entire year ago. Things definitely did not go to plan, but we'll talk more about that in a video really soon here on this channel. But now let's talk a little bit about AI. This next video talks about AI, what was changing in the AI landscape, and it's actually really incredible to see what all has happened and changed since making just this video.
I've been asked once or twice in the last month or so, I guess maybe a few more times, a little bit about ChatGPT. Specifically, is it going to kill or spell the end of blogging? So in this video today, I want to take the culmination of everything that I've learned over weeks, plus my experience with blogging, and many of these kind of scares with new technology, as well as adaptations that we as bloggers have had to make over time. This isn't the first time that disruptive technology has impacted blogging. And so I'm gonna just boil this all down and share with you what I see coming, as well as just how these things are going to impact blogging, because they are, and what we as bloggers need to do about it to make sure that we stay relevant and actually continue to thrive going forward into the future. So that's what we're gonna talk about over the rest of this video. So in case you haven't seen it yet, ChatGPT is an AI tool that it's really trained in dialogue. And so you can ask it questions and it provides you answers back. It's really cool. Some of the things that I've seen have been awesome. A member of Project 24 asked it to write a limerick about me. And here's what it came up with. There once was a man named Ricky Kessler who was quite the intelligent fellow. He founded Income School to help others be cool and live a financially sound life of leisure. Honestly, I think that's pretty awesome. And if you've been watching YouTube, you know that there are just so many cool things ChatGPT can do. It's writing computer code, it's writing full essays for people. I'm a little bit concerned about some of the use cases here and ways that it's going to allow people to circumvent, thought. So that begs the question, what is the impact of ChatGPT, as well as just continued advancements in AI, on the future of SEO and on blogging? That's a really big question, and frankly, none of us really knows the full scope of how this is going to change things. But some things are already changing, and those are easy to see, as well as the changes that are just a step away. So first, let's talk about SEO. What's the impact to actual search? There are two areas where I see the biggest change coming for SEO. The first one is in actual user behavior, and that is as AIs become more powerful, I can see people leaning on them far more for a lot of really fact-based and information-based answers to their questions. Where somebody today would go to Google and might search a question like, what is a trombone? And then they would get these answers, they'd get a definition right here as a rich snippet, as well as just a whole bunch of content about trombones, some dictionary definitions, video about how it works, etc., etc., etc. Well, if the AIs are getting really good and they become very easy to use, meaning we start to incorporate this type of AI, this sophistication of AI into tools like Alexa and Siri, your personal assistant, being able to provide you with this level of answer, and where you don't have to use specific voice commands, but rather a normal natural dialogue. I can see these kinds of things making the Google response basically obsolete. I mean, let's look today and see what ChatGPT tells us. That's a pretty good definition. You know, the one thing that it really lacks is a picture. I don't think we're very far off before not only is it going to give us this answer here, but OpenAI is going to start using DALL-E to just like draw its own pictures of trombones in an instant for us. And if I'm honest, frankly, it's a better answer than what we're seeing here in the Google search result, again, minus those images. The second place I really see this impacting SEO is in how the search engines like Google handle the content that's out there. You see, because when any sort of new tool is invented that can make content creation easier, there are a lot of content creators who are going to use it to excess, right? And Google has openly stated they do not like AI-generated content, and so the intent is that it's not going to be what ranks really well in the search results. Now, so far, Google doesn't have a really good programmatic way to identify AI-generated content, especially as the content gets better and more natural and human sounding. So that means that Google is going to have to continue to rely on other factors and probably increase its reliance on other factors to determine what content is likely to be authoritative and accurate. You might wonder why Google doesn't like this kind of content. Frankly, it shouldn't really matter, right? As long as the information is accurate and relevant to the reader. However, I think Google knows that when AI is generating content, the factual accuracy of that content is highly questionable in many cases. That might be true for a lot of bloggers too, but I digress. I think the main reason is, though, that with an AI, it's hard to identify the sources of that information. With real people, if Google can identify the creator of that content, the writer, the author, right, who it's being attributed to, and views through all of the different factors in the algorithm that writer is authoritative on the subject, then Google can, with a reasonable level of certainty, trust the information that's being provided. Again, without a real source to pull that from, an AI could be telling you anything, and you might believe it's true as a reader, especially because it writes in a way that seems extremely confident. So I want to pause here for a second. We're going to talk in just a minute about some of the other changes that I think are going to come specifically to blogging and content creation as a result of AI. But I want to talk a little bit about the limitations of AI, because I think this is an important foundation of understanding we need to have if we want to be content creators. And so there are some specific limitations that AI has and that I believe it's going to have for a long time. I won't say forever, but I will say for a very long time. First of all, AI-generated content at this point really isn't new. The best it can do is look at a past data set and aggregate that information, and in some cases, potentially learn from that information and apply what it knows about one thing to a synonymous, or analogous other thing. Let me give you an example. A couple years ago in a video, I had to write an article about why ATVs backfire. I was given the topic just off the cuff. I didn't know I was going to have that topic leading into it. And at that point, I didn't have nearly the experience with ATVs that I might need to be able to really write that article. However, with a little bit of research on things that are specific to ATVs, as well as my knowledge of motorcycles, having ridden motorcycles like regularly for many years, I could see that there was so much that was the same. And because of that, writing that article was actually pretty easy for me, even though I had to do a little bit of research to sort of fill in the gaps. Well, AI, specifically ChatGPT, is capable to some extent of taking something from its data set, recognizing that this is the same, even though it's a little bit different, and applying what it knows over here. But the problem with that is the AI does not know its own limitations, and oftentimes applies some knowledge it has to a situation that it doesn't apply to. For example, in a conversation I had with Kyle Roof, I was asking him what his thoughts were about AI, and he told me that he asked ChatGPT about the Super Bowl in 2022 and its outcomes. Well, if you know, the data set for ChatGPT is from 2021, so it didn't know the answer, and yet it provided an answer with statistics about players who were not even in the game, and it provided those answers with a lot of confidence. Now, I have tried asking the same question now, and the AI has learned since then that questions relating to things that happened since its data set, since 2021, are probably questions that it shouldn't answer, and it tells me that today. So it is getting better, but it doesn't know all of its own limitations and is perfectly happy to provide you with an answer, whether it knows the right answer or not. That leads me to the next limitation, and that is that oftentimes the facts that we get from ChatGPT are incorrect. Now, this is something that shouldn't come as a surprise. ChatGPT is out here available for us to use, but right here on the main page under limitations, it tells you right off the bat, it may occasionally generate incorrect information. The purpose of ChatGPT being made available to us is for testing purposes, not for us to be able to rely on it for factual information and to create content for us to use publicly. So what is it that leads to this incorrectness? The AI is probability based. So when you ask it a question, it goes through its data set, and based upon probabilities, it gives you the answer that it thinks is most probable to be correct, based upon the data set that it has. The problem is it doesn't make you aware of the probability that it has. And because of that, you may be getting an answer that is provided as factual or definitive, where in reality, it's like there's a 5% chance that that's the correct answer. There's no way for us to know. All we know is, well, the AI said this is true, and so it's probably true. Now, another limitation is that at this point, I think probably, I'm not a computer scientist, and I'm certainly not an expert on AI and how they really work, but I think because of computation limitations, at this point, the AI is trained on a specific data set that ends in 2021. I think that training the AI on an ever-evolving live data set like the web today would probably require a much higher level of computation than what they're able to do at this point. And because of that, there's a lot of information that is just unavailable to the AI. It's actually kind of funny because I asked it some other questions as well. I was curious when a member of Project 24 asked it to write a limerick about me. I was like, oh, well, I guess it has some information. Well, I went and asked it some questions about me too, and it had no idea who I am. And it asked me to provide information about who I am so that it could then generate some responses. And so that's, I'm assuming, what that Project 24 member had to do to be able to have it generate that fun little limerick that it did. So ChatGPT certainly does not have all of the information. In fact, it's lacking a lot. And that leads me to the biggest limitation for AI that I think it has today, but I think it will have for a very long time. And that is that an AI is incapable of human experience. There are a lot of things that people ask about, that we write about as bloggers, and that we make videos about as content creators, where human experience is a necessary part of the answer. And the AI, the best it can do is aggregate responses from other people and generate an answer that it thinks is probably accurate. ChatGPT doesn't do product reviews. ChatGPT can't test anything. ChatGPT can't really give you an opinion on which the best product is, especially for a specific situation. The best it can do is give you the specs as well as maybe aggregate customer reviews, if it has access to those. But if someone asks me a question about off-roading, let's say, and I'm able to provide them an answer that has some subjectivity associated with it, some opinion built into the answer, but that's based upon the experiences that I have had, that answer is going to be met with a much higher level of trust because I've experienced it. Not only is it the statistics behind it saying that, yeah, this is a safe way to do this thing or whatever, but when I say it's also a really fun way to do it and the experience was exhilarating, the AI can't experience that. The best it can do is tell you what a bunch of other people said. And if blogging were to die, then where would you get the information of that other people said for the AI to use? It's a cycle, it's a paradox. There have to be people creating content for the AI to continue to have something to pull from. In fact, that's a common thread I've seen with a lot of the videos about AI, talking about how amazing it is, talking about DALL-E. If you've seen the images it can create, it's super cool. And I totally agree that it is. But in every instance, it has to pull inspiration from things that have already been created before by humans. Like Marquez Brownlee did in a video. He asked it, give me a cat in the style of Monet. Well, if Monet hadn't painted, you wouldn't have the style of Monet. And here's the thing about humans. We never like things to stay the same for too long. Look at clothing, look at music. Look at everything that we do in any popular culture. It is constantly changing. There are new trends coming every single year, and probably micro trends within every single year. Things are always changing because as soon as they get stagnant, we get bored. Now, could an AI drive the next trends based upon the cycles of the past? Quite possibly. But the AI is not going to know if those new styles look good or if that kind of music is something people are going to really like, because the best it can do is compute. And we hear and we see and we process those things and decide what we like and don't like. So now let's come back to blogging. First, let's answer the question, is this going to spell the end of blogging? And I've kind of already answered that. No. We need content creators. The world will always need content creators. I do think, though, that there are some changes coming to blogging and that there are certain kinds of content that bloggers have been creating for a long time, many of them that I have been trying to promote you to stop doing, that those are just going to die. There's just going to be no point in those in the coming days. But there's a lot of content that I think still is going to have a very strong position, not just for the next couple of years, but probably indefinitely. So what is changing? Well, the really simple fact-based questions are probably questions that we shouldn't be focusing on so much anymore in our written content. That doesn't mean that the response post is dead. Response posts, for those of you who are new to this channel, are blog posts that we write where we're answering a specific question, usually in about 1,000 words, which, believe it or not, for us is a relatively short blog post. We can still answer specific questions, but we're probably not going to spend as much time answering questions that are very much fact-based, and honestly that an AI from its data set could very easily provide a good answer for. An example of this is an article that we showed on this channel a little while back, answering the question of what's the difference between a salad fork and a dinner fork. Well, everything that we wrote in that article, when I asked ChatGPT the same question, it basically provided all the same answers, with the difference that I could then, if I wanted to, follow up with an additional question and it would answer that question for me too. It did at least as good a job or a better job than a blog post could do, with one exception: no images or videos for that matter. I think anybody that's writing blog content that's just aggregating stuff that other people have written, it's already been mostly worthless, but it's only going to get worse because, frankly, the AI can do a far better job of it than you can. We need to create content that goes beyond facts and that moves into the space of, one, experiential knowledge that can only be gained through experience, and that, two, moves into that realm of providing more than just the information. And by more, I'm talking about providing maybe even some level of interest and entertainment, but also a high level of confidence in the information you're providing. When you do original research, when you do your own experiments, when you test products side by side, when you do that kind of stuff, you provide a cool experience for people, but you also provide a high degree of confidence in the answer that you end up providing them, because they can see the process and they get to know you and you build up that rapport with them throughout that process. So that's the first change coming to blogging. Some types of content are just going to become less and less and less valuable to create, even though they're the ones being proliferated most. The next one is that there are a lot of people who are going to be relying on AI and generating massive amounts of content. Now, first of all, most people are going to do this and they're going to actually violate the terms of ChatGPT, which actually say that if you do want to use their content in any sort of a publication, you have to clearly state that it was AI generated. I don't think most people are doing that, but hey, I guess who cares about rules, right? But because of that and the changes that I mentioned coming to SEO and search engines like Google needing to weed out that AI generated content, we as content creators are going to have to put a lot more focus on building EEAT. That stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And these are just basically those signals that we send to Google as well as to people that say that we know what we're talking about and they should be listening to us for good reason. That is something I'll be talking about in an interview with Kyle Roof here very shortly on this channel, and I mean very shortly. But here's another change I do see coming to blogging that ties into the last one, and that is AI is making it a lot easier to do some of the things that we're already doing and to do them faster and in many cases better. So this is me saying I am not completely against AI and using it as a tool in blogging. What I am not proposing or as a proponent of is using AI to generate your content for you. Mostly because I don't like writing things that are completely factually incorrect, where if somebody who actually is familiar at all with the niche were to read my content could easily call me out. I don't like that, right? And so I don't like creating that kind of content. I'm not going to just trust it. Everything that an AI writes for you, you need to be able to know whether or not that's true. And so if you don't know your niche very well and have to fact check everything said in a blog post, you're probably going to waste a lot of time, and maybe you should have just written the blog post. Anyway, some of those things that I have already been playing around with ChatGPT for is helping me come up with ideas. Let's say that you find a topic that you want to write this article, and you're trying to think of what are some other articles I could write around that so I can get a good cluster of content. Well, you could just ask ChatGPT, what are some related topics or related keywords to fill in the blank? And you're going to get a whole bunch of results. You could say, give me 20 topics closely related to this one. And it will give you 20 topics, and you, using your brain, can pick from that list and identify 5 or 6 maybe that you think are a good fit and that you could write to support that other article. Another great way you could use this is to come up with title ideas. Titles are usually pretty hard for a lot of bloggers, and we need to get better at writing good titles. We can use this for YouTube videos as well. In fact, I asked it a little bit ago for some ideas for the title for this video, and it gave me a whole bunch. Now, I'm not taking one of those titles specifically and using it. However, it really sparked some ideas for me to be able to come up with a little bit more intriguing idea for the title for this video than maybe what I would have come up with by myself. It certainly helped me to do it much more quickly. But you see there, I still have to know what kind of titles work well so that I can see which ones from this list really could be useful. Which, by the way, is another principle that's come to light as a result of this. I've seen a lot of people who are concerned about, coding jobs because ChatGPT can write code for you. Who needs a developer at this point, right? However, the videos I've seen where it's writing code, it's when you specify, I want you to write me a function in this language that does this. I wouldn't know what to tell the ChatGPT to give me the code that I need, nor would I know what to do with that code and how that one function fits within the context of generating a WordPress plugin or theme, because that's not my area of expertise. You still need someone who knows how to put the pieces together and knows what questions to ask. Again, at least for now and probably several years to come. And I'm finding that principle to be true with a lot of what the AI tools are able to do. The more knowledge we have, the better able we are to take what it provides us, use that as inspiration, and put it into our content with the right context. I think if you asked AI to write you a great video script, cool, it could do that. But your video may or may not do that well. However, if Marques Brownlee asks an AI tool to write him a video script, that video is going to do probably really well. Why? Marques knows how to make a great video, and he has a lot of history and a lot of people that like him and trust him. And so Marques isn't just going to take the script the AI gives him and present it whole cloth without first going through it and making sure that it doesn't suck. And he's the one who knows whether or not it's going to suck. So here's the long and short of it. AI tools still have a ton of limitations. They are not in a position to kill blogging. However, AI tools are going to change the game for both SEO and for blogging. And the best way that we can make sure that we as bloggers stay relevant is to build up EEAT. And one of the best forms of that is actually to work on building a brand. AIs don't generate brands, they generate information. Although I did ask an AI tool to help me come up with brand names or domain names. But again, it was just for inspiration. It does not build a brand. It does not build rapport. It does not make people want to come back to your content because they trust you. Focus on that. Focus on building EEAT. Focus on generating original and unique content that goes above and beyond what an AI is even capable of doing. And you're going to stay relevant as a blogger for a long time.
One of your favorite topics on this channel is SEO, of course. And we had the privilege of sitting down with SEO expert Kyle Roof. Ricky, tell me a little bit, how did that interview come to be?
Yeah, basically, I just got an email from Kyle, straight up. And, you might think just sending an email doesn't work, right? Nobody wants to collaborate with you just because you send them an email. But I think there were two things that stood out to me about that. One, it was obvious that there was something in it for me. Mm-hmm. He sent me an email like, hey, I want to come collaborate with you about this topic. Mm-hmm. And the second thing was, I knew who he was. And that helps a lot too. So as you build your reputation and have a little bit of rapport, it's gonna make it a lot easier for you to actually do these collaborations with people. He sent me an email. He was super nice, super helpful. We just got together on a call and I interviewed him. It sounded like he had researched us enough to know, like, I think this would be a really good topic. You talk about this kind of stuff. Why don't we do an interview?
Cool. I think you guys are gonna like this one. Let's take a look.
Recently, there's been a lot of talk about Google algorithm updates, about SEO, and about AI with ChatGPT and AI content that's starting to look pretty good actually, right? And so what is our place as bloggers? What does our future look like? Now we'll talk a little bit more about AI in another video soon. But for this video, what I want to talk about is one of the important things that we can do to ensure great success as content creators going forward. I have joining me today, Kyle Roof. Now, if you don't know who Kyle is an SEO guy, but he's an SEO guy who really knows what he's talking about. He's spent a decade or more actually in this industry coming to understand search and SEO. This guy has a patent for his scientific approach, his process for how he determines if something truly is a ranking factor in Google's algorithm. So today we're going to go through several different factors, specific things you can do, easy things you can do on your website to help establish EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. This is the thing that's going to continue to set real bloggers apart from fakes and copycats, as well as from AI. So stay tuned as we jump into EAT and how you can make it happen on your website. Hey, Kyle, thanks for joining us today. I've been looking forward to this conversation ever since I first heard from you. So anyway, why don't you go ahead and just give a little brief overview, take a minute here and let everybody know who you are and what you do. Because I think it's really cool what you do. So I'm excited to get to share. So I want them to have a little bit of understanding before we dive in.
Sure thing. So I'm Kyle Roof. I am the co-founder of a SEO agency called High Voltage SEO. We have offices in Phoenix, Berlin, and Melbourne. We do local to national to international to everything in between. I'm the co-creator of Page Optimizer Pro, which is an on-page SEO tool. And I'm one of the co-founders of Internet Marketing Gold, which is an online community where we test Google's algorithm. And then also their courses. I think there are around 40 courses. I think I have 4 courses in there. And I teach SEO. I speak on SEO. I get to travel the world, speak at international conferences, meet very cool people. People that are way cooler than me. And I get to shows like this, which is a lot of fun. And I just do SEO all day, every day. It's really pretty much what I do.
Today, you mentioned wanting to get to talk a little bit about something that I honestly believe in very strongly. I think it's really important from an SEO standpoint. I think it's important from a branding standpoint, and that is EAT. And I'm really excited to hear what you have to share around like what things the algorithm seems to actually care about, because I feel like there's a lot we can do for EAT that would be hard to algorithmically measure for Google. And so I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in?
But starting with the trust one, because I think that's maybe the most tangible for people. The bottom line here is I think Google is looking at like, who is responsible for this content? If something were to happen here, who can someone contact? If you were to break it up into a couple of sections, I think the first section is this a real business? Because if you're taking money from something you're doing online, you should be a business of some form. The other thing you need to think about too is that Google can't see your site. You have to realize that a bot needs to find things that it can find in order to establish that this is an actual real site and this is a real business. So some of the first things I would look at are putting a local address. Businesses have an address. I can probably hear the groans from all the affiliates that are now listening, because often you work from home or your business is from your home. You don't want to put your home address, and that makes a lot of sense. But real businesses can do that.
And how would you go about implementing that? Is that something you would just like put in the footer with contact info, or is that something so it's like on every page, or do you put it like
I would put it in the footer, and then I'd make sure I have it on the page that would be my organization schema page. There's not anything set in stone there. That could be your home page, that could be your contact us page, that could be like about the company page. Either of those is fine. In addition to the address, you want a local phone number that matches that location. This is important too, because if you get an address that say is a lot of businesses are at that address, and that could be a building kind of thing, standard setup, or if you're using a service that is providing you with a mailbox, having a unique phone number is critical. That shows that it's a different business. With that, I would have an about the company page, which is it talks of the company, and then I would have a separate about the team page that talks about the people in the company. And again, this is the kind of thing that real companies do. But the idea is that these are two separate things, and it shows that a bot can crawl in and actually see that these pages exist on the site.
It's really interesting because, and I'm sorry I had to jump in because I'm sure there's a lot more even on this, but bloggers for a long time kind of wanted to show I'm just a normal person. I'm not necessarily a company, right? But in reality, like even an individual blogger, they are a business. Once you are making money at this or trying to make money at this, we need to treat it like a business. Real businesses have more authority than random people. I think your articles could probably still have a lot of very personal flair to them. There should be a lot of that to it, but I don't think that conflicts with the idea of having real business and real legitimate information behind it.
You're 100% right. In your articles, you can be very personal, and you can talk about your experiences and what's going on. And I think it's also important to note that it's not having like one specific of these things. Really what it comes down to at the end of it is ticking enough of these boxes. Yeah. And these are easy things to tick.
Yep.
You know, they're very easy to get to, so that when the bot comes through and it can find enough of these, then you're going to pass through. If we look at then, is this a real business, kind of in the trust side, the other would be, is this a real website? And certain indicators are pretty easy. One is a current copyright, just copyright with a little C. Very basic, and it's also a super easy thing for a bot to come in and see, like, is this a current copyright or is it 2017? Is somebody caring about this website? There's some other things that I would handle that kind of fall into like real website, just obviously having an SSL, which you have to have, being mobile friendly, we all know that. But then like limited 404s, limited broken links, no 500s, those types of signals that are the real basic ones. And again, it's not anything heavy, you don't have to do massive audits and all that, but just like the normal stuff that you would do, I would just make sure I'm covering. To get into expertise, I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions on this, and do you need an expert writing your content? Do you need a doctor? Do you need a PhD, something like that? And the answer is no, because Google isn't in the value judgment game. Think about it for a second, like what's more valuable, like a degree from Stanford, a degree from MIT, or 10 years worth of experience? Who knows? And I'm confident that Google is not writing an algorithm to try to figure that one out. That's not what they want to do at all. But what they do want to know is that a real person is behind this information. That there's actually somebody there. So like, in that picture, like, hi Steve, like Steve is an actual person. Yeah. Whereas on a lot of these sites, Steve is not. That's a very common thing, that Steve is this person is not real photo, and Steve doesn't actually exist. And I think that's what would give Google some heartburn, where essentially the person that is writing the content, who knows who that person actually is. So really what you need to do is you have to have author pages or bio pages, and you want to have person schema on those pages. Within that schema, you can then start to link to like their LinkedIn page, for example, or places they went to school, they're alumni of. You can put in all kinds of information within the person schema that you can talk about on that bio page to establish that this is a real person. Again, it's not terribly hard.
No, it's not. It's not rocket science at all. It's just fill out the person schema, have a real bio page, and be real.
Yeah. And then the big thing, though, is that when that person writes an article, when they've got that blog post on there, you use author schema and cite back to that page on your site that is where their bio is. So what you're saying is like, this real person wrote this article and this is their real information. Right. And you continue to link from there. You can also, on that like about the team page, you can also link from there to their author bio page as well. So like kind of the signal of this is the team. Again, even if it's a team of one, that's fine. And then it goes to that page where the person schema is, and then every time Google reads their article, go back to it and verify that they're an actual person.
What's the best way to do that then? So on each article, there's usually most themes will have built in a little about the author box, or just within there, do you just link to it, or is there a schema that you use to show the same as or something to show this is the same person?
Within that, a lot of when you're doing the article schema, within that you can put in who the author is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like an author card, and within that would be the author schema that you can put in, and then you can source.
Gotcha.
Your bio page. And the last one would be authoritativeness. And I know some people are like, aha, here's where I need an expert. And again, not really. What I think authority comes down to in this scenario is topical authority or topical coverage. Have you answered all the questions that someone would have about this particular thing? Is this something where if somebody gets to your site and they're looking at this particular thing, can they find the answer there? That's kind of what we're looking at. And so strategies, you want to kind of implement strategies in order to get that topical coverage, to say that you are the authority because the answer is here. I personally like to use supporting pages. So I've got my target pages where I spent the time to really optimize those pages in the technique that I like to use or whatever I'm going after. And then I'm going to build out, say, 5-7 type of pages that they're only living to support my target page. I'm going to do like the people also ask type things and then link up to that target page. I'm going to create a little virtual silo out of that. And that creates a very strong signal, like this is what we're talking about. This is what's on this site.
So are you to signal to Google, as well as I think just from a functional standpoint for users, with those supporting pages, are you just interlinking from each of those pages to the main page and vice versa? Is there anything else that you're doing to signal that they go together and support one another? Is it mostly just interlinking? And
so what I'm doing is I'm linking within the body. So they're contextual links. I don't really care about the menu, the sidebar, the footer. These are links within the body. Within all of them, I'm going to try to get a link to the target page in that first paragraph. And then I'm going to link to each other. It kind of covers the big things. One other thing I would mention, a little secret weapon, is an HTML sitemap. Not just an XML sitemap that you would submit to Search Console, but an actual page on your site that is a sitemap. The number one way that Google likes to find a page is through a link, and that can be a link on your own site. And so it's to your benefit to have a page that lists the links on your site so that Google can get in there and crawl around. Because it's one thing to like put all this stuff out there. It's quite another for Google to crawl it and index it and understand it. And you want to make things as easy as possible for Google, and an HTML sitemap can do that for you. So I just make sure it's updating automatically as you launch a page, that it will put the link in. But way back, we ran a test. One of the testers in IMG ran this where they put up the page with 1,000 links to 1,000 orphan pages, and Google crawled the page and indexed all those orphan pages from those links.
Wow. Yeah.
So you can get very large HTML sitemaps, and that's not a problem for very large sites, and Google will eventually get through it and crawl it, and it gives you that ability for Google to get in and index all those pages.
For everybody watching, this is a fantastic checklist. Like, go through these things and just do them, because nothing that we've talked about, nothing that you've shared today so far is difficult. I mean, these are all kind of like, verify that this is happening on your site and then move on, right? Checking for broken links and that kind of stuff, and answering comments. But other than that, a lot of this stuff is sort of set it and forget it, and then maybe every so often audit and make sure things aren't broken. It's not complicated. That's awesome. Well, thanks, Kyle. Where can people go to follow you? What's the best place for people to see what you're doing and just learn more about what you do?
Oh yeah, they can go to kyleroof.com. I own
it. Yep. Well, Kyle, this was a pleasure. I hope to get other opportunities to chat with you and maybe see you at some events and things in the future. But thank you so much for taking the time to share this with our audience, and I guess just keep up the awesome work. Super appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty cool, right? Look, at Income School, we focus a ton on content, and content is key. If you don't have great content and you're not writing about the right things, you're never going to get real traffic from Google search, because you're not ever going to really rank for anything. However, oftentimes people are doing all the right stuff when it comes to content creation, and we may just be missing out on a few of these SEO factors, these EEAT factors, that cue to Google that we really are a legitimate and authoritative source for that information. So let's make sure that we do these things. Now, you didn't get to see the whole interview in this video. There's only so much we can pack into a YouTube video and have it still be like a really engaging, compelling video. But if you're one of those people who really wants the whole thing, and if you are, first of all, congratulations, because you probably have the right mindset to succeed at this. If you want to hear all of it, then I want to invite you to watch the rest of the video. The way to access that is make sure that you're on our email newsletter. For those of you who already are, you got an email in your inbox today. Go look for it, make sure it's there. If it got put in spam or some other folder, put it in your inbox so you don't miss those from us in the future, where we're going to be able to share some really cool some of the behind the scenes and some of the more detailed stuff that we're creating that doesn't all make it into a YouTube video. Now, if you're not already on our email newsletter and you're afraid you missed it, it's okay. If you go to incomeschool.com/EAT, you can sign up, and the very first email you get will have this video in it. So you'll be able to watch the entire interview and make sure you don't miss out on more of the really helpful, informational, as well as tutorial and guiding content that we're gonna be able to create for you, especially with these cool projects we're working on with our project charity site, as well as our project double time, right? I'm gonna be able to provide some more behind the scenes information and details to those of you who are in the email newsletter. Then I'll be able to share just out here on YouTube. Again, there's only so much I can put out. So anyway, I hope that you'll sign up for that and that you'll stay connected with us. If you're not subscribed to the channel, this is where you want to be to make sure that you're learning how to create awesome content and drive real traffic to your website. And other than that, I hope you have an awesome day and that you'll join us again in our next video.
This next video probably contains the most we've ever shared publicly about our keyword research method that we call search analysis. So it might be time to put down your drinks and grab something to take notes. It's gonna be a good one.
There's lots going on these days in the world of SEO with AI and algorithm updates and all that, but it's time to really hit the ground running and get back to Project Charity. So today we are going through a process that I have had a lot of people on this channel ask me to show more of here on YouTube, and I'm about to show you way more than we've ever done publicly, and that is our process for search analysis. Search analysis is our approach to what most people call keyword research. We're coming up with the topics for the website. So you might be wondering, why are we standing at a blackboard instead of at a computer? That's because the first step of search analysis is actually what we typically call the brand plan. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this niche of off-roading and we're gonna break it down into kind of logical categories. This is like how we are internally just gonna structure the content on the website to help us come up with the right topics and group them appropriately so we can build topical authority. So first things first, we need to talk about how we could take this niche and slice it. And I can think of a few different ways. The first one is kind of the most obvious, I think, or at least to me, this is the first one I thought of, and that's kind of different vehicle types.
Yeah. You know, we've talked about some ideas for the different vehicle types we have. Another idea that we could do, there's a lot of general information in the off-road world. And so I don't know exactly what we could call that, but I think like maintenance might fall under there, you know, different things like that, that might just be kind of general, not necessarily vehicle specific, but that could be another way to cut it. We could write all these ideas up on the board and then we can kind of go from there.
Sounds good. we didn't write on the same line. That's okay. At a high level, right? Like ATVs, dirt bikes, side-by-sides, mini bikes, SUVs. Really, like this could be the first way you look at it, is like buying vehicles, recovering your vehicle when you get it stuck, modifying it, maintaining it, using it, and like general safety. And then we have legal and insurance. The thing that makes the most sense to me would be to first kind of break it into, because like the activities I do on an ATV are gonna be different than a dirt bike, right? So a lot's gonna vary. So I probably would break it apart by those, and then under each one of these probably have these as either subcategories in WordPress, again, I don't care, or just topically, like in my search analysis, when I look at ATVs, I'm gonna look at buying them, I'm gonna look at modifying them, maintaining them, etc. Do we think like the legal, insurance, all that stuff, does that one differ depending on the vehicle?
There's probably gonna be very minor differences.
This could potentially be a subcategory that is maybe part of a general category. So we might have a general category that includes this. It could include some safety with off-roading. It's probably a good idea to keep kind of like a safety kit, like obviously some first aid stuff, but like what if you get stuck and you don't have phone service? You know, do you have like a thermal blanket? Do you have maybe a radio? Mods are going to vary a lot.
Significant.
Depending on the vehicle, even depending on the specific, like which side-by-side you get, it could impact it. Most of these are going to fall as subgroupings.
Yes, I agree.
So then the next step is we only get to pick 3 subgroups. And I'm not talking about 3 subgroups that we get under all of them. I'm talking about 3 subgroups total. It would make sense then to try to start with something that we know is probably going to have some search volume and where the competition's not like crazy. For search volume, one of the things I like to do is this. I'm actually going to share my screen here. I did bring a computer to this party. So here I am in Google Trends, and I'm just going to search one of these vehicle types, ATV, and I'm going to pick the topic of all-terrain vehicles. I'm going to expand this to 5 years. I don't mind that geography is the United States because that's where off-roading is going to be the most popular anyway. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare this to one of the other vehicles. So I'll do dirt bike as a topic. ATV, all-terrain vehicle, in general, seems a lot higher. Now that's everything, not just off-roading topics. Right. And maybe that makes sense because like people use ATVs like on the farm and stuff too. What about side-by-side vehicle? Okay, it's in there. It's a little higher than dirt bike right now. That doesn't surprise me. Wow, they all picked up in April 2020.
Interesting.
Everybody got outside, apparently, especially up here in the Northwest. We saw this out in the mountains. Like, we'd go up to our property, and there would just be like campers everywhere because people.
You'd even go to the dealerships for stuff like this, and they were white. There was nothing out there, so that makes sense.
We should have started this one a few years ago. Mini bikes. So it's there. It's lower than dirt biking, but it's there. And so what we're doing is we're kind of getting the relative search volume, right? So consistently over time, and we're noticing that the trend is higher now than it was 5 years ago. It's not going anywhere. If anything, it'll level back off where it used to be.
Can we take a look under SUV? We've talked about a couple different vehicles.
So if I just do like SUVs as a vehicle class, it's pretty huge.
Right.
But if we pick a specific, so like Jeeps, Jeep, maybe even just Jeep Wrangler. It's a pretty common off-road vehicle. The Jeep Wrangler is as popular as all-terrain vehicle. Yeah. One I really like is the Toyota 4Runner. So it's right up here. Is a really popular option. What about like the FJ Cruiser? All right, it's down there with the mini bikes.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more niche. This exercise has a lot of value. One, we've kind of mapped out where we could go eventually. We've also just uncovered so much possibility with this niche that for us to cover all of this ever, it's just not really thinkable, right? There are whole websites about Jeep Wranglers, right? And YouTube channels and stuff. Like, there's no way we're going to cover off-roading in its entirety. So I think it makes the most sense to start where it fits the best for us, as well as we talked about that search volume and competition. So for search volume, ATVs seems like a good option. Also, ATVs would be fairly inexpensive to really get into. It wouldn't be complicated or cost a ton of money. And a lot of our writers are going to have experience with ATVs, and so it's going to be a lot easier to be able to just start creating content. So maybe for the first vehicle type we pick, we go with something like that.
Kind of like you said, without a little bit of outsourcing that we're going to do, I think that it makes sense that this topic is something that a lot of people around here or that our writers could potentially have experience with. So we're going to end up with better quality content just because, if we go with SUVs, our writers probably don't all have SUVs, they're college students. So I think
especially because under SUV, we would probably pick a more specific vehicle.
Yep. So I think ATV is probably a good place to start.
In search analysis, one of the principles we talk about is the inverted pyramid. And that is basically like, there's some questions that anybody that's interested in ATVs is going to ask this question at some point. And then as we move down the pyramid, there are those questions that only your like avid ATV rider, maybe like those that do competitions and stuff, only those people are going to ask.
Yeah, I think this one is wide.
Buying is always
everyone's going to have to be looking at that. But if we're talking about mods, that's something where you're probably getting into a little bit more serious. You're not just buying an ATV.
Like you've already bought one. Probably.
And now you're going to spend extra money to do upgrades on various things. So this was probably more closer to the tip of the period in comparison to buying anyway.
Yeah, totally.
And I think something that we've been talking about recently is like content or topics that could be potentially subjective.
Yeah.
There's a lot more value there as somebody.
Bloggers, right?
Yes, for bloggers, there's a lot more value for me writing something that's potentially slightly subjective. It sets us up to potentially be more valuable later down the road as competition comes into the niche.
So an AI can answer the question, how much does this particular model of ATV weigh?
Right.
It can't answer, is this one better than this one?
Exactly.
Not in a good way, because it can't think for itself. It can
Yep.
only say what bloggers have said.
Yep.
So this seems like a good one from a search volume standpoint.
Yep.
So ATV buying.
I think let's go with
Okay.
that. It's a good place to start.
I'd love to do at least one more general category. We talked about legal and insurance potentially being more broad. There's a lot of questions around like street legality of stuff. There's also what are the registration requirements? And then there's where you can ride kind of questions. That's all kind of legal, and that's actually different even clusters of content.
Given the timeline for this site, it would not be a bad idea to prep some content in something where there's some obvious monetization.
Yeah.
I know that's a little bit early. I don't want to jump the gun
totally.
here, but since we are, we want this site on a faster timeline, kind of just thinking ahead and preparing some of that's not a bad idea. And while some of those queries or topics might be a little more to the tip of the pyramid, it's not necessarily bad if it's just a piece of it.
See, mods is like awesome. It's huge. This will do well with ads because it shows
Yes.
buyer intent, and so ad revenue will do okay. But maintenance, there's going to be some affiliate products, but this is closer to the base of the pyramid. If we did maintenance, we could even start with content that's like getting your ATV ready, like in the spring, because right now we're in the middle of the winter. People have
Right.
already put it away for the winter.
Right.
And so we could start with content knowing that it's
Kind of prepped to potentially
yeah,
rank.
why don't we go ahead
Okay.
and do maintenance? And then I could see us doing, what if we start with just like insurance?
Okay.
Maybe that's gonna be too narrow to be like a whole category, especially if we focus on ATV insurance.
Right. Might
But-
end up being a small cluster,
Right.
but
But it's a starting
good to
point,
have.
and within a month or so, we'll
Right.
probably be able to branch out. The danger with going with just ATV everything is we don't get to test out multiple vehicles
Right.
and see what works and get our own data
Yeah.
very quickly.
yeah.
But it also gives us more topical authority on ATVs from the beginning. So it's a trade-off, but I think we'll pretty quickly get to a second vehicle type.
It's just content production. So once we've chosen our clusters here, so now we need to go through, do some serious research into it to see if these are real, like legitimately good ideas. But then once we do that and we get our search analysis prepped, as soon as we can get these articles written, reviewed, prepped and ready to go on the site, at that point we can potentially move on to other vehicle types. So, the sooner we get to it, the better.
Now that we have 3 specific subcategories of topics for this website, at least to get started with, we can get working on the actual search analysis. So let me just show you a little bit how this process is gonna go. You're actually gonna get to see my screen here. This is our search analysis tool. This is in Airtable. We have it in Google Sheets version. Project 24 members, you've got this. The other thing that we're going to use is here within the Google Sheets version of the blogging tool, we have this partial search assistant, and this is gonna help us come up with partial Google searches. I'm gonna open up another browser. This is one where I'm never logged in, and we're gonna use this one for Google. So not signed in, don't really have a search history here. These are the categories and subcategories. So choosing and buying ATVs, maintenance within ATVs, as well as just in the general off-roading category, insurance. The purpose of the partial search assistant is to come up with some partial searches that we can type into Google to see what people are actually looking for. Now, a lot of people are going to use a keyword research tool for this. This is the process we use because it's free, for one, and for two, because if everybody's using the same tools, then they're going down kind of the same list of ideas of search queries, and they're all coming up with the same topics. And the search volume numbers of the keyword research tools they're wrong. So let's find some specific search queries people are actually looking for within this topic. So here, the general topic, let's just say ATV, right? This is going to give me a bunch of partial search queries. Down here is a noun or a concept, a person involved in the niche. So, a cyclist in bicycling or whatever. An action phrase, verb or action phrase ending in ing. So like buying an ATV. So some of these are going to make sense and some are not for the particular thing that I typed in. So we're just going to go with the ones that make sense. How to choose an ATV. Now that's an entire query, not a partial, but let's go ahead and type that in and just see what Google gives us. So, people have written articles like this, right? The Complete Guide to Buying an ATV Four-Wheeler. I might actually go look at some of these articles and see what specific things they mention, because those might give me ideas of other queries people are looking for. But here's what I'm actually looking for. What I'm looking at is the people also ask. I'm going to type in a query, or generally a partial query, and Google's going to tell me right here, these are things people are actually asking that are related to the thing that you asked. So here, what size quad is right for me? Okay, that could apply to an ATV. In the article, I'll probably use all of the different ways to talk about ATVs, call them four-wheelers, call them ATVs, just to make it clear to Google they're all the same thing. So in choosing and buying, I'm going to put here as one of this is the very first query, what size ATV is right for me? What about what's the best ATV for the money? That's a good one too. Honestly, what's the best ATV for the money? I feel like that could actually lead to a whole cluster of content, because I could answer a lot of different questions around that, because it depends, again, more on your usage than on the money. And so I could write an article about like, what's the best workhorse ATV for the money? What's the best hunting ATV for the money? And on and on and on. What brand of ATV is best? These are kind of obvious questions, but they're ones we're going to want to make sure we cover, because if we don't ever cover these on our website, then it's going to be hard to have topical authority. So even if I'm not going to rank for those immediately, I want to cover those. Here's another cool tip. I can open one of these and then I can close it. And look, there's a whole bunch of new questions, and I can open it and close it again. It's going to give me more. Over time, it's going to start to get further and further afield. So we're only going to do this a few times. Oh, that's kind of cool. What's the best month to buy an ATV? I'm going to come down here to the ing one, because a lot of these are more of the partial search, and these can be super powerful. Can buying an ATV? That's just a partial question. So I'm going to type that in. Let's see what Google comes up with for the people also ask. Are ATVs a good investment? What do I need to know about buying an ATV? What's the average lifespan? We've kind of seen that. What's a good down payment for an ATV? It's a good question. So we're going to go back to our Airtable. So notice I'm here and I'm seeing this. This is more maintenance, but that's one of my subcategories. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. So you can see how in a matter of a few minutes, I've come up with about 10 of these. I'm probably going to go until I have at least 10 in each one. And really, I want 10 in each one that we're actually going to write. So I probably want at least 20, possibly even 30 different queries. Now, a lot of these search queries we're going to write an article for, but some of them are going to get grouped together. Some of them we might not focus on first because the competition level is really, really high. Again, we're going to want to write those at some point, but we want to make sure that we're creating some clusters of content where at least some of the specific search queries we're addressing have pretty low competition. The more articles we can rank, the better our site will do overall. Even if they're long tail, if we have a whole bunch of articles ranking on page 1 of Google, it will help the other content do even better. So we want to make sure that we are winning for sure some of these search queries right up front and not just taking a whole bunch of really competitive ones. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you for a couple of these the next step of how we're going to address the search volume question as well as the competition. So let's start with this first one. What size ATV is right for me? Let's talk about search volume. Now for search volume, we don't look for specific numbers. Yes, I can use a keyword research tool. The number will be wrong. They're not going to take into account other search queries that are semantically equivalent, meaning they mean the same thing, only they use pretty different wording. Some of them try to do that to some extent, but they just can't get it the same way Google does, right? So what we do is we use kind of buckets. Is the search volume going to be high? Meaning, is this a query that's at the base of that inverted pyramid? It's a question that a lot of people are going to ask, even if they're never going to buy an ATV or they're just considering it, right? What size ATV is right for me is probably a base query. The other thing that we have here is if it has full trends data. So I'm going to go to Google Trends. What size ATV is right for me? And we're going to see if there's like any data at all. Notice there's like no data. That's actually really normal for specific search queries because Google Trends does not take into account semantically equivalent terms. However, if I just do what size ATV is right, so we're just gonna shorten it a little bit, still nothing. ATV size definitely has, so if I saw that it had full trends data, meaning I have data in all of these, then it means that there are a lot of searches every single month. For Google to be providing me with data for trends, we're probably looking at around 10,000 searches per month or more. I am going to call this a base query, and that means it's probably gonna have high search volume. Now let's look at the competition, and here I call this primary competition. There are going to be all sorts of competition, but what does the primary competition look like? The options I have here is like 0. There's like no real competition, at least no articles that are actually really on point for this search query. Low meaning forums, or maybe they're articles that aren't on point. Forums are often easy to beat, but not always. When people are looking to find out what lots of other people think about a topic, a forum is the perfect search result. So don't just assume forums are low quality content. Google does sometimes put them at the top of the SERP, even though there are articles that are on point. Medium, meaning maybe there's some other blog posts from other bloggers that are kind of on point. high, there's a lot of posts, or there's posts from really well-known sites, or extreme, like it's a government site and it's a very technical question. I will also add in here, if it's a very just fact-based answer, AI is going to become more and more competitive. Whereas if there's some opinion or some subjectivity where your experience can lead you to actually making a helpful recommendation, that's perfect for bloggers. So here what we need to do is we need to actually go do the search. So what size ATV is right for me? Let's go. Okay, so we have a snippet here from superatv.com. We have ATV Man, what size ATV should you buy? Wild ATV, ATV size charts, off-road guide net. So several articles that are on point. I wouldn't say that any of these are necessarily like massive sites. ATV Man, I actually know. We're not gonna try to steal his traffic. He's a good guy. But like Super ATV here, let's see. If I look at just the site itself, maybe we can get an idea of just how big this site is. Now, this site feels more like a business than just like an independent blogger, which does make me think that it probably has a lot of content on it and a fair amount of authoritativeness. It looks like you can shop for stuff here. I don't know if they're their own store, but probably. They have a chat bot. I mean, this is a pretty legitimate website, so that's good to know. In terms of from its content standpoint, it looks like it's mostly a place to buy stuff. I'm gonna judge it this way. I'm going to say that it is medium or high, right? Probably several posts. Yeah, we'll call it several posts. So the question is, should you write it? The tool is telling me, yeah, you should write it, but make sure you interlink from related posts. Basically, if I'm gonna write this article, I need it to be a part of a query group. It's recommending I write a staple post because there's a lot of competition. The question as to how long it should be depends a lot more on the topic. This is one where I actually feel like there is a lot to say. So a staple post makes a lot of sense. If I'm having my writers work on it, they're going to spend at least 4 hours working on this. I might even have them spend considerably more than that or write it myself. So that's how this process works. I can go through this for several others, and essentially it can help me prioritize which articles are the lowest competition, most likely to rank quickly, and then we can start by writing those, but make sure that we write a cluster of content around it. Here's the other thing that I'll mention. Let's say if I had more like 30 of these, I could start grouping them, right? So what size is right for me? What brand is best? Mileage is one where it would group really well with questions around buying used ATVs. So I might look for 4 or 5 other questions around used ATVs. So then here under clusters, I'm gonna write buying used. And so I'm going to identify maybe multiple articles that are around buying used. Here I'm going to do financial. It's more of a financial question. It's kind of like how much do they cost? How much is a good down payment? Interest rates? That kind of stuff would be really good to go here. So this one, financial. And this is just going to be picking the right model and brand and stuff. It helps me easily see which of these articles could easily be interlinked with each other to form a cluster of content. And oftentimes when I create a cluster of content, there's maybe one really central article. And in fact, maybe some of these don't go in a cluster together, as I find more like 30 or 40 different queries just in this subcategory even. What I might do is I might identify that even this should be broken down into smaller clusters. And I end up with 5 or 6 articles in a cluster, and I have maybe a couple of different financial clusters that are even more specific of articles that are really closely aligned with each other. So this is a good starting point. I will go through and do the search volume and the primary competition portion for every single one of these, and probably spend just a few minutes on each one so that I have a pretty good idea of which clusters are the best ones to start with. And those are the articles we're gonna write first. So in a nutshell, that's search analysis. We actually in Project 24 have a whole bunch of video content going into a lot more depth, but there's your crash course right there. If you enjoyed this video and you wanna know more about Project Charity and what we're doing, we do have a whole playlist that I will put right here so you can go check it out, and you can see from the very beginning, selecting the niche, choosing the domain name for it, obviously this video and every video that we will have about this project going forward. I'm also going to put a page on incomeschool.com at incomeschool.com/projectcharity, where you're gonna be able to see all the work that we've done each month, as well as what the results are that we're seeing. So I'm really excited for you to see that, and really to start getting some content on the website. It's about time, right? Let's get after it. Let's get some work done, get some content written, and
make some progress.
Wow, I'd forgotten how good that video was. We definitely spilled quite a few secrets there. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about content writing. So over the past few years, I've been able to work with our writers and our editors to try and make as good of content as possible. And we have put together this, I don't know what you call it, just like a pre-published checklist. And that's what this whole next video is about. I think you're gonna like this one.
Publishing an article without this checklist would be so cringe. Really though, like not taking the time to go through your content and just make sure that these things are there could cost you so much in terms of traffic. We were talking about this and I was even asked, what sort of an increase in traffic could you see by going through these things? It really could be that you have an article that doesn't even show up on page 1. And by doing these things, you move to the #1 position. You could literally go from like 5 page views a month to 1,000 page views a month. And so it's really important that we make sure that our content is really good. And these things are what's gonna help you make that happen.
I think it's important to realize, so we're talking about a bunch of pre-published checklist ideas here. And this isn't something that has to happen after the writing.
No.
You should definitely be incorporating some of these things that we talk about into your writing process so you don't have to go back and fix the article after it's already been written.
Exactly. For Project 24 members, we're actually putting this checklist in the blogging system so you can go check it out. We have a lesson in there that's all about making sure that your content is leveled up, that it's really good. Go check that out because honestly, this is a checklist that I think is worth printing out and having right there, maybe right behind your computer or on your desk somewhere, just to make sure you have these things. So there's 3 things that you definitely need to do as you're going through the content. So if you're writing it yourself, you could do these things as you're writing. If you outsource the content, you had somebody else write it, these are things that I would do during at least a one-time complete read through of the whole article. The first one is we wanna fact check any claims that are made in the article. If this is a niche you know something about, which is what I highly recommend, then don't write anything yourself that you don't know to be accurate from your own experience or from your own research. And 2, if you outsource this article to someone else, during that one-time read through, just any claims that are made, does that make sense to me? Does that sound accurate? Anything that raises any red flags, take a minute and just go look it up, go do a little bit of research and make sure that that still rings true. We don't want to be publishing content just regurgitating the same sort of misinformation that other bloggers have been sharing. This can just be like literally factual things that other people have gotten wrong that have been perpetuated through multiple blog posts because they all just research and take each other's content.
So we had a really interesting example of this when we were hiring some writers at one point. We had them write a practice article to see what their writing was like. And we all gave them the same topic to write on. And when they all came back, all of the information was exactly the same. And we went back to look at their sources and they had all taken information from like the first 5 articles on Google. So it's always worth the fact check. The next one that we need to talk about are answer targets. Answer targets are just a short, kind of really easy to read, very quick information that we write right at the top of the article. When you write your answer target, you probably spend some time going through it to make sure it sounds good. If you have a writer going through it and writing the answer target, then you definitely want to review it. But even for the answer target that you write, you should review that answer target and wordsmith it. Make sure that it sounds perfect. Make sure that the information comes first. Make sure there's no fluff. Make sure it's formatted correctly. Even if you spend just a minute or 2 on this, it can significantly improve your answer target.
Answer targets are still good for winning Google snippets, but even more than that, they're good for making your content helpful content, which is really important. These days, Google cares about helpful content. And so when we provide the answer up front in a very easy to find format, and we're just very factual about it, that is extremely helpful. And I have found that it encourages readers to keep reading because in basically every situation, I'm able to tell them, here is the base level answer that you're looking for, but there's more information that you need to know to be able to really understand this and be able to make any sort of decision. So keep reading the article. And it works. It works extremely well. So yes, wordsmith the answer target. I think on that last article I wrote, I probably spent as long on that one paragraph as I spent on any subheading.
A quick little tip for answer targets. I've reviewed probably thousands of answer targets. Something that I often see with answer targets, and this is maybe like a fun little hack, a lot of times the most helpful information ends up being written in the second sentence in an answer target. So when you're reviewing your answer target, read the first sentence, read the second sentence, and a lot of times I end up taking the second sentence and putting it first. For some reason, a lot of writers want to do a little bit of introduction and they almost tee up their answer target in the answer target. So see if you can swap those sentences around and get that information first.
This next one is kind of just a must-have, but it's super fast and super easy, and that is to do a quick spelling and grammar check. If you have major errors in spelling and grammar, that's gonna look bad to search engines, and it's gonna look bad to people. You will probably still end up with typos on your website, but just use the free Grammarly Chrome extension and write your article, and anytime it underlines anything, look at it. Sometimes it will be wrong. It continues to tell me that power sports must be 2 words. And it's not, by the way. I live here and it is in Idaho where we have a lot of power sports, and very honest, like it's always written 1 word when it's talked about in power sports. So what did I do? I just click ignore, but I checked it and made sure, because it also found a whole bunch of other little errors that were just because I typed fast. And so check spelling and grammar and do it quickly.
The next one is images.
Yeah.
Now, images are so valuable on a blog post. You know, we talk about different forms of media and how those can impact how your article can rank. Original images are so valuable. Make sure you have images in your blog post. You know, if you don't have original images, then you can use a form of stock image. Look for an image that actually fits what you're talking about. If you put an image under a subheading talking about a very specific thing, make sure your image matches what you were talking about at that point in the article. You don't want an image that is like kind of tangentially related, because then the reader's gonna wonder why the image was even there, and it kind of takes away the value.
There's kind of a hierarchy to
Yes.
this, right? It's like an image is better than no image.
Yes.
A relevant image is better than one that's completely irrelevant. One that actually illustrates what you're talking about is even better. And if it's an original image that they're not gonna find elsewhere on the web, that's even
like
better.
the lottery.
So that is the ideal. You won't be able to do that every time for most of us, and that's okay. But if you wrote an article about hiking and you're talking specifically about hiking boots, and then you show a picture of someone who looks like they're hiking, but they're wearing trail running shoes, that is a fail.
Some people are really worried that they just don't have the skill of photography. And that's totally okay.
Yeah.
It's almost better if your images look a little bit amateur, because that means that they were probably taken by a regular person who's experienced the thing that is being talked about in the article. So whenever I go to a website and I see an amateur looking photo, I'm relieved, because I think I found an article that's actually gonna be helpful.
Another thing with that is, like, if I'm taking an image of a product, I'm gonna take an image of me holding the product.
Yes.
Even if I don't wanna show my face, I'm gonna show it in my hand and not have it look like it was taken at a photo studio. And that is going to give so much more credibility. The next one is to go through all of your subheadings in your article and make sure of really 2 things. One, that they're formatted and written to be able to be like a headline. So I want them 60 characters-ish. And the reason for that is Google will sometimes take those subheadings and use them as a headline in a search result if the answer to a particular search query comes under that subheading. Write it short so that Google can show the whole thing, and write it as a headline. It should be reasonably catchy. The second piece is to make it standalone. You shouldn't need the context of what came before it to understand what it means. And so if I'm talking about buying ATVs and my subheading is pricing or seasonality, that is super common, because in the days of like outlining an essay, we would write that in our outline because we have the context of the rest of the essay. For this, we want to actually make a statement, right? You know, the best season to buy ATVs is in the fall. That is a subheading. And then I'm going to explain why that's true and how much that's true, right?
Okay, I'm gonna knock out 2 points here kind of under monetization. Okay, we're gonna talk about 2 things. So the first one is just adding relevant affiliate links. Making sure that you sell those links. A lot of times on articles that I read, I'll just see, check out this product on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, come on, could you have said that any more of a boring way? Like, tell me why I should check out this product. You know, tell me why you like it. Tell me how it's relevant. Make sure those links are in there. That's one of the big reasons why we're writing these articles. You know, we want people to convert through on those links. Another thing that you should probably be doing is, if you are running display ads on your website, is make sure that your article is just formatted for display ads. And what I mean by that is just making sure that the paragraphs are short, making sure that there's a lot of spaces potentially for ad placements there. If you have big blocky paragraphs, there's going to be very few spots where an ad could be placed in content.
Now I want to mention this other one, and this affiliate links has the same issue. If you don't do it at the time of publishing, it takes so much more work to go back in time and do it all later. And so this one is interlinking. When you have an article, really when you plan what articles you're going to write, when you do your search analysis, I really like to keep my articles grouped. Even if I come back later and do another batch of search analysis, I come up with 3 more articles that are kind of in the same category as these 10 I already wrote. I'm literally going to group them together in my search analysis, whether I'm using a spreadsheet or Airtable or whatever, because I can visually see that these articles all go together. And so at the time of publishing, I can make sure that I link out to the articles that I should link to, and I can go update any previously written articles and add links to this new one. Doing this at the time of publishing is so much easier than going through after the fact when you have 100 articles and interlinking. If you're doing it that way, you're probably going to want to use a tool that's going to do it automatically, and it's not going to be as good or as natural. So take care of interlinking now. If you outsource to the article, they're probably not going to do any of this for you. If I'm talking about buying ATVs and I already have an article on financing for ATVs or for power sports, then in that article, even if I didn't talk at all about financing, I should think about that and be like, these are closely related topics. I'm just going to add a little paragraph. Where I'm talking about buying a new ATV from a dealer, I'm just going to add one paragraph about financing that introduces that topic and point people over to my article about financing. I don't have that article yet. So in the future, when we write that article, I will come back to this one and add that paragraph. Yeah. Do it at the time of publishing. We did a cool little case study a little while back on one of our websites about interlinking. We added links, we sold the links, we did a good job, and I showed exactly how I add those links in a way to actually get more clicks. And we were able to see a nice increase in the amount of people clicking through, which is awesome. That's what we want to see. It does a lot for topical authority. It helps build traffic. It helps take your brand new blog post, and when you link to it from existing content, it gets it indexed super fast, gets traffic to it faster, gets it ranking better and faster. There's so many positive benefits to interlinking. So I want to invite you to go check out that video because you're going to learn exactly how to do a good job of interlinking. And this is your list. Go do these things. It's going to make your content so much better as long as you make sure you don't skip a single thing on this list. There are so many bloggers out there, including probably many of you watching this video right now, who are struggling to make real money from their blog.
There are thousands of things that you have to get right in order to make that money and in order to have a successful website. In this next video, we talk through quite a few solutions to many of the very common problems that we see that you tell us that you're having. Hopefully, one of our solutions in this video will help solve the problem that you're running into.
On this channel, we love to share reports from bloggers like you about how much bloggers are earning. And while all of those numbers are based on the entirety of the survey data that we receive, there are a lot of bloggers out there who are earning nothing or next to it. So in this video, I want to walk you through a process to diagnose why that might be for you and exactly what to do about it. If you're not earning as much as you'd like to from your blog, it's probably at least one of 3 main problems that's leading to this outcome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process to diagnose exactly why your website is not earning as much money as you want it to. And based upon the reasons why, I want to help you figure out exactly what to do about it. The first problem a lot of bloggers run into is they underestimate just how much content it's going to take to actually succeed at this and really make any money. You see, the more content we have overall, the more traffic we're going to get, right? And the more traffic we have, the monetization actually grows not linearly, but almost exponentially to a point. So the more traffic we can get on our website, the more we can earn by leaps and bounds. But if you haven't published at least 30 blog posts on your website and you're wondering why it's not earning you much, it's probably because you just haven't published enough. So at this point, we need to, of course, have a strategy for the kind of content we create. We really need to focus on content in the beginning so that we can get to the point where we can attract real traffic and we can monetize that traffic and earn a good income. Okay, so that brings me to the next problem, and that is that you've written enough content, but you're just not getting very much traffic. And by not very much, we're gonna just say fewer than about 10,000 page views per month on your website. Now, there are some websites that with a lot less traffic than that can earn a great income. Usually it's because they have a really high value proposition that they are selling to an audience, and they're attracting a very specific audience to their website. But for the kind of websites that we're generally creating and that we're talking about here on this channel, that kind of traffic is not going to do it for you. So now, what causes a website that has 30 to 50 or even more articles on their website to get fewer than 10,000 page views per month? There are a couple of issues here that we might be facing. The first is that your search analysis is not on point. Here's what I mean. Search analysis is our process for identifying searches, things people are typing into the search bar that we can address with content on our website. And there are a few key mistakes that a lot of people make with their search analysis. The first one is that they just don't do it. A lot of bloggers start off just writing about the things that they want to write about related to their niche. You start writing articles and there's all this stuff you just want to get off your chest, these things that you're just like, everyone needs to know this, and you just start writing articles. That's probably not going to work. We'll get to why here in just a second, because there's a second traffic issue that's related, but isn't exactly the same as search analysis. The next big search analysis mistake that people make that's become really impactful, especially over the last year or so, is they don't build topical authority. If you've written 30 to 50 articles on your website, but you've covered the whole niche, well, let's say we covered like every aspect of tennis in 30 articles, just all the way across the board, from game strategy to just overall technique to rules to different court types, and now we're talking about all the different tournaments with only 30 articles. You haven't covered anything with enough depth to be established as an authority. So what do we need to do? We need to start with a few specific aspects of the niche. We could start with tennis rules. We want to make sure we cover it with enough depth that it shows Google and other search engines that we know what we're talking about when we talk about tennis rules. Now, the second issue that could be causing you to not have enough traffic is very related to search analysis, and that is that the content you've created may not match specific search queries. You see, it's really important that everything we write, every article, has at least one, if not more, search queries that it's intended to answer. It's intended to rank for. So here's something that you can do. You could go to your Google Analytics and check out which blog posts are just not getting as much traffic as the rest. As you look at some of those, I want you to read the headline and I want you to think, what was the search query I was intending to address with this article that I wrote? If there wasn't one, that is likely the problem with this article. If there was one, now I want you to open the article and start reading through it. Did you address that search query? Did you reasonably answer that question within the first 500 words? You see, everything else after that should be supporting the stuff that you said, but you should give at least a basic answer to the question very early on in the article. If you don't, then in the search engine's eyes, your content probably doesn't match the search, and it's not going to rank for it. So that leads to the next problem. What about those of you who have traffic, more than 10,000 page views per month on your website, but you're not earning any money, or you're earning very, very little? For this group of people, there are a few things that could be causing this. The first thing that we want to ask is, are you taking advantage of the monetization opportunities that are easily available to you? First of all, do you have ads on your website? If you are not showing display ads on your website, I want you to think about why that is. If your goal is to create a really inviting website, you don't want ads because you hope later to be able to sell an info product, a course, an ebook, something like that will have more value, and you think ads might really detract from that. If I had an article all about serving a tennis ball, then maybe that article could point to an ebook that I have all about serving. If you make products, you have an Etsy store or a Shopify or something like that, that's great. We want to make sure that in our content, wherever it makes sense, we direct people toward our products the same way that you would toward an affiliate product, if that's the form of monetization you're doing. Selling your own products that have a lot of value is one of the only reasons that I would have today to not put display ads on your website. So if you're not showing ads and don't have a really good reason not to, then you should absolutely do it. Now, when? I would say if you don't have at least 10,000 page views per month on your website, then displaying ads or not is totally up to you. It doesn't have a lot of value at that point. Honestly, I'd kind of rather get the traffic up at least to that 10,000 page views per month level and then really start thinking about ads. Now, at that level, you're gonna be best off going with Ezoic. The other major ad providers that work really well for blogs aren't even available to you at that level of traffic. I'll link to Ezoic in the description of this video. Much like ads, I would ask, are you doing any affiliate marketing? And if you are, how much effort are you putting behind it? Do you occasionally throw an Amazon link into a blog post? Or do we have some specific products that we absolutely recommend to our audience that are gonna show up multiple times on our website? In our Project 24 membership, we do have an entire course on affiliate marketing where we teach 4 complete strategies to doing affiliate marketing. And those can be used in conjunction with each other. I also have a YouTube video that teaches those 4 strategies for affiliate marketing that you can go watch just right here for free. So that's the first question is, are you taking advantage of the monetization that's available to you? A lot of people will say, yes, but you can't even sign up for the platforms, or most programs won't accept you until you show that you have more traffic. And that is true. So what do? We start off with Amazon, that's fine. You start off with some that do accept a lot more people. Even Walmart has an affiliate program that seems to be a lot less picky than most. But the other thing you can do is just link to the products you want to recommend, whether you can be an affiliate for them or not. Later, once you're accepted, it's a lot easier to go replace that or add an affiliate link than it is to suddenly create a bunch of affiliate content now that you have a bunch of traffic. I think it's also a great way to show some of these companies that you're serious as well as that you're successful when you've already linked to their product, and then you can show them the type of content that you create that's already driving traffic for them. So go ahead and do that from the very beginning. And just make sure that you're doing a great job of selling those links and utilizing all 4 of our strategies. Now, here's something to keep in mind. If you are doing affiliate marketing and you're putting some real effort behind it, but you're earning less than $5 per 1,000 page views, then we really need to just look into what's going on here. At that point, you really do need to make sure you go check out the strategies that we have so that you can learn how to improve this. You're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. The same goes for ads. If you're earning less than $10 or even $12 per 1,000 page views on your website, you're probably not doing something right. A lot of people are trying with ads. They go put ads on their website and they see earnings of $6, $7, $8. And there are a few reasons why those earnings might be as low as they are. Either one, you're just not displaying very many ads, or it's not set up properly on your website, and so ads aren't showing in front of people as often as you think they are. But another reason is that the audience that your content is currently attracting isn't a very valuable audience to advertisers. We have seen some websites earn tremendous amounts of money. Camper Report, which was one of our websites, was earning about $34 per 1,000 page views every single month just from ads, not even counting the affiliate marketing and other things that we were doing. Most of the ad platforms we work with want to see an audience with at least 50% or more of the traffic in the US. So if your website is attracting a lot of traffic from outside the US, and outside of the UK and Western Europe especially, you're probably not going to earn very much money from ads, at least not without having very, very large amounts of traffic. In that case, if you're earning $1 or $2 per 1,000 page views, you might be doing rather well. It's just because the US audience is an audience that advertisers are willing to spend a lot of money to get in front of, because there's a lot of people spending a lot of money in the United States. Likewise, if your audience is very young, if even people in through their early to mid to even late 20s, if that's kind of the old end of your audience, chances are that advertisers aren't going to be paying nearly as much for that demographic. People in their 20s and younger than their 20s aren't spending the kind of money that people who are beyond their 20s tend to be spending. So if you are doing ads and you're just not earning very much from those ads, then I want you to look at the demographics of the audience that you're attracting. You can see a fair amount of demographic information just right there in Google Analytics. But I also want you to think about the content you're creating, the search queries that it's answering, and what is the type of person that is going to the internet and searching for that question. So what do we want to do as we create new content and as we go through some of our old content to try to improve it over time? We want to make sure that we're crafting it in a way to attract a US based audience that's usually people that are a little older that have free time and money to spend. That audience is also going to be a lot more valuable to you no matter what ways you're monetizing your website. Again, if you're earning very little income, but you have a lot of traffic, chances are you need to focus on these things first to improve upon those before you're going to have a whole lot of success with information products. But for those of you who are having success selling affiliate products and doing well with ads, chances are that you could come up with an information product that could earn you multiples of what you're currently earning today. So consider that to take your blog from where it is today and skyrocket that income. So as you work your way kind of through this decision tree and figure out which of these issues is facing you, what do you think it is? What's the biggest thing holding you back from making more money on your website? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below so I can create better content to better help you earn more money from your blog for yourself, for your family. Hope to see you in our next video.
This next video is a really good one to follow that one because we're talking about monetization again. We did a huge data gather to find out how much bloggers are actually earning in 2023. And in this video, we're going to share the results with you. And we'll go ahead and roll film now because I'm kind of tired of looking at my big open mouth.
Your hourly wage for the work you're doing to create content is over $98 an hour. It's incredible. Well, I am extremely excited. This has got to be one of my most requested videos that I get every single year, and one of our most watched videos each year. And that's because I do a survey asking you how much you're earning as a blogger, and then I get to share the results of the survey with all of you and with everybody who's just kind of curious. How much do bloggers earn? And I did the survey this year and I expected a certain outcome and was very pleasantly surprised. And I dove really far into the data because I wanted to understand why it worked out the way that it did. You're gonna see here in just a minute, but I'm super excited for the results. And there's some really cool actionable stuff that we can learn from this to help you earn much more from your blog going forward in 2023. All right, the first thing that I wanna share with you is overall how much people are earning per 1,000 page views, as well as per blog post that they write. Now, the per 1,000 page views number it's because basically all the ways that we earn money, especially through ads and stuff, usually it's measured in like RPM or EPMV, or we use a metric we call EPMP, which is earnings per milli or 1,000 page views. So that's the number that we're gonna use. And what it does is it just kind of levels it. Someone has 8,000, someone has 18,000, and depending on the amount of traffic you get, your earnings vary widely. So here is what I found. For 2023, right now, the survey data says that per 1,000 page views on your website, on average, you guys are earning $36.80. Now, without any context, that number is gonna feel like just a number. What does that even mean? Let me give you a little bit of context here. The average respondent to this survey is getting about 60,500 page views every single month on their blog. That means that on average, all of you who responded are earning $2,226.52. That's the average number. That takes every site from several of you who responded earning $0 to people on the other end of the spectrum earning $13,000 a month, $15,000, one person here earning $50,000 a month. But most people kind of in that $1,000 to $12,000 per month range. So what impacts the amount you earn? If it goes everywhere from $0 to $50,000 per month. There are a few specific things, and I'm so excited to get to walk through them with you. The first one is this. Obviously, the more traffic you have on your website, the more you can earn. More people coming to the site, more ad revenue, more affiliate product revenue, more money that you earn from selling your own products, especially your own digital products. We're gonna come back to that one in just a couple of minutes. But what drives the most traffic? On average, it's the most content, but only to a point. So here's what I found. We know this from past results as well as from these results, that people who have fewer than like 10 blog posts on the website basically can't expect to earn anything. You might earn $1 here or there, but it just doesn't do very much for you. But on average, people responding to this survey who had 30 blog posts or fewer were averaging $15 per 1,000 page views. Now that number is driven up by a few people who have like about 30 blog posts on the website, but that number starts to go up as we approach 100 page views per month. Anywhere from about 31 to 100, you're averaging about $19. But here's what's cool. For those people whose websites, whose blogs have between 100 and 500, now it's a wide range, right? Most of these are kind of in the 1 to 300 range. Everyone who fell into that 100 to 500 range, that number shoots way up. In fact, it more than doubles. And they're averaging we're talking middle of the road here, $41.59 per 1,000 page views. A lot of you with blogs are gonna hear that number and you're gonna say, no way. I don't know anybody with that kind of earnings. I am nowhere near that. I earn nothing. If that's how you feel, I want you to consider a couple of things. One, how much content do you have? But also, there are some of you that put a lot of content and they hear a number like this and they say, well, I just need to write more and more and more. But you're not figuring out the things that make the content good. And we're gonna come again back to that in just a few minutes. But here's what this means. Put more content on your website and on average, you're earning way more than people who have very little content on their website. But we see this number drop off. People that have over 500 posts on their website are averaging only $34.06. You can see on this graph just how much of an impact it has kind of being in that sweet spot. And I think the reason for that, and this same phenomenon happened last year, it's when you get to a certain point, you have so much content on your website that you're cannibalizing traffic from your own blog posts, or you're just writing about topics that are just so specific and minute, like there's 3 people that are ever gonna search that. And it's just because you've covered so much already on your website. So when people ask, should I have 1 website or 2? I'm gonna say, unless your one website has at least 100 blog posts on it, I'm probably not starting a second one yet. However, if you do have like 400 or 500 blog posts on a website, I'm probably gonna say you're likely to grow more by starting another one, if you really have this process down. But it's not just traffic. I really wanted to know what factors mattered the most, so I asked a few other questions in my survey. I asked, how are you monetizing? And I allowed people to fill in all of the different ways they're monetizing their websites. We have people who are monetizing with ads only, and that group of people across the entire spectrum are averaging about $17.19 per 1,000 page views. So even if you have a ton of content on your website and really good traffic, you're averaging only a little bit more than those people that only have 30 blog posts on their website. But we shouldn't just do ads alone. You see those people who do ads and affiliate marketing, their ePMP grows by 74%. That's a lot. $12 more per 1,000 page views. 74%, that's like, not that far from double the income by doing a second form of monetization. But this is where it gets even cooler. People who do digital products, whether they do ads or not, just anybody who has a digital product that they're selling. Information products is like a huge thing that we love to talk about here on Income School. These people are earning 3.9 times as much money as people who are doing just ads. I also found another cool result. I decided to look for how much Project 24 members earn versus people who are not members of Project 24. For those of you who don't know, Project 24 is our membership where I teach you step by step by step how to build a successful blog. This survey showed that this year, currently, people who are members of Project 24 earn 89% more per 1,000 page views. But you might be asking, is it just that Project 24 members write a lot more content? I decided I wanted to look at the dollars earned per blog post written as well. And here's what I found. Project 24 members, they also earn 91% more dollars per blog post that they write. Almost twice as much money as people who are not Project 24 members. And the reason for that is Project 24 members learn how to write content, first the right content, the content that's actually going to get them real search traffic. And they know how to write content in a way that they make more money from that content. Project 24 members are also more likely to create a digital product because that's something we teach you how to do. And we know exactly how important it is because you earn that much more money. Here's another cool thing. I just mentioned digital products. I told you that you earn 3 times as much per 1,000 page views, you earn 5.7 times as much per blog post. So that's a lot of improvement on the amount of time it takes to actually write a blog post. So now let me tell you why this was so surprising to me. This year, there have been so many kind of upsetting factors for bloggers. People are just talking about how much blogging is dying. And there's been two major things. The first one has actually been the bigger impact I've seen so far, and that has just been changes in the Google algorithm. Google core updates have been big disruptors in the past, and this last year was no exception. And so that's something that we've seen really impacting a lot of sites, really diminishing the amount of traffic they're getting, which is why it's so exciting for me to see how much money people are still earning per blog post. That said, this year compared to last year, the dollars earned per blog post per month did go down a bit, but the dollars earned overall have gone up, because a lot of you have realized that you need to create more topical authority, so you're creating more content around specific clusters of information, which is fantastic. It's exactly what you need to do. And I think that as we get that dialed in, our dollars per blog post are probably going to improve going forward. The second major factor that everybody's worried about is AI. And what is AI going to do to blogging? So far, basically nothing. I've looked at a ton of websites, a lot of my own included, and I have seen absolutely zero impact since ChatGPT came out. And I mean, just nothing. You don't see anything. The traffic continues to move exactly how it was before, if not even better. Will AI impact blogging in the future? Yes. Most certainly it will. But what I'm seeing so far makes me really optimistic about the future of blogging, knowing that there is going to continue to be a place for human-created content going forward in the future. But I do think that there's a place for learning how to use AI in conjunction with human efforts to create really good, really helpful content and still be able to have a really good human element to it. I think people like that connection, and if we abandon that because AI is cool and flashy and we think it can do just as good a job, I think we're gonna see some really negative downsides. More on that going forward. I think we're gonna be talking about AI a lot in the coming months and years, because it's absolutely going to force us to adapt, but I think in good ways. And if we continue to do a good job of this, we're gonna keep earning some great money. So let's talk about how earnings have grown. 2 years ago, we did the same survey. From then until last year, blog earnings grew by almost 8% per 1,000 page views. We're talking about based on traffic. And then from last year to this year, I was completely expecting those two things to cause earnings to decrease. Honestly, I didn't even bring up the third one, and this is a huge one, and that is just overall economic factors. Advertisers are not paying nearly as much now as they used to, just because the economy's a bit down. So EPMPs or EPMVs or RPMs, depending on who you're using as your ad provider, have been going down. And yet, from last year to this year, respondents to the survey have increased their income per 1,000 page views by over 17%. Just look at how these numbers are growing. It's incredible to me to see how you have already been adapting. And that's what we're here for on this channel, is to help you know exactly what things you need to do to be able to have these kind of results, while most bloggers are out there are complaining about the headwinds and the things that are gonna prevent them from ever being successful. I wanna help guide you so that you know exactly what's coming and you know exactly what to do about it as it comes. We're not gonna overreact. What we're gonna do is we're gonna face the things that are heading toward us, and we're going to adapt as needed, but not until we need to. If we make a lot of changes right now, it's mostly just gonna be guessing. Okay, now there's another number I just absolutely have to share with you from this survey that really gets me excited. I get people talking about how this isn't a good business model, you do all this work, and in the end, you don't make that much money for the time you put into it. There's a lot of risk. When you're creating a business or doing any type of investment at all, risk means there's a good chance that the thing that you put all of your money into, you could decrease the amount of money as much as you could increase it, right? If there's a really risky investment, we know that there's a chance for big reward, but we also know that there's a higher likelihood of big failure and losing that money, at least compared to other more moderate investments. I would not in any way consider blogging a high-risk business model, because the cost to get into it is so low compared to most other money-making methodologies out there. Most every business you're gonna get into is gonna have a huge upfront cost. Bank loans and stuff where you could lose your house if you fail. With a blog, all you're out is whatever time you spent creating that blog and a few dollars here and there. It's just not a risky business model. People who say that don't understand what risk really means. The chances of success at this versus other businesses is not any lower. In fact, a huge percentage of businesses that people start fail. They don't exist within 5 years. Blogging has a similar failure rate, but it's mostly comes down to the people who are going to stick it out, learn how to do it right, and really follow through. So the number that I have to share with you is, what's your hourly wage as a blogger? So what I did is I took the dollars per post, the average, not even the high end, just the average. And what I found was, over the course of 5 years, you take that blog post and just earn from it for the next 5 years. Most of the blog posts we write continue to earn us money for years and years and years and years into the future, well beyond 5. But if it's 5 years, and let's say every single blog post takes you 6 hours to write. I'm being pretty generous here because most of the blog posts I write take me 1 to 2, and Project 24 members learn how to do the same. 3-4 hours is kind of a lot of time to spend on a blog post. But for a total beginner, 6 hours probably feels a bit more realistic. Your hourly wage for the work you're doing to create content is over $98 an hour. It's incredible. The difference is you don't get paid up front. That payment comes in dividends over time. So you do the work up front, but you keep earning for so long. And again, this is the average. What if you create a digital product and you more than double that number? It's an incredible business opportunity. I'm so excited. The numbers that I'm seeing make me super optimistic for the future. We can continue to make this an amazing business model. And again, like I said, we'll adapt as needed, but overall, things are going great for bloggers. And you are totally slaying it, so congratulations on your great blogging success. Now, for those of you who hear these numbers and say, yes, but I'm trying and I'm earning $0, what am I supposed to do? I put out a video just last week on exactly what to do to diagnose why you're not making money on your blog and what to do about it. Make sure you go check out that video right now. You don't want to miss it if you are anywhere near $0 or just much lower income than you're expecting to earn from your blog. I hope to see you in that video. I also hope you'll subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you in our video next week.
I think we can all agree that 2023 has been a tough year on bloggers. From the growing popularity of AI to the countless Google updates this year, we have gotten the question so many times, is blogging still worth it?
There's a lot that goes into answering that question for yourself. But in this video that's coming up next, we're going to share with you a lot of the reasons why we are still blogging and are going to continue to be blogging well into the future. Well, I think this video is pretty important. We've heard a lot of concerns over the last several months about sort of the future of blogging, of content marketing, and realistically, like, we share a lot of these concerns. There are unknowns about the future. So today what we want to do is we want to go through a lot of these concerns and address them and talk about why it is that we're still excited about the future of blogging. So let's take these one by one.
Yeah.
The first concern we've heard a lot over the last year has been just a lot of Google updates that have kind of decimated a lot of people's traffic, just seeming like Google's not really on our team.
This has been one that, like you said, it hasn't been as top of mind lately with some of the other concerns that we're also going to talk about, but this is one that is really demotivating.
Yeah.
You put so much time and so much effort into your website, and then Google takes half your traffic. In one day, half your traffic is gone. That is a significant problem.
It is.
And something that you definitely should be concerned about when you lose half your traffic.
The reality is like Google is actually getting harder and harder to game. Search engine optimization, as it's traditionally been known, is struggling realistically, but content creation isn't. And we have a lot of websites that are just not seeing these traffic hits because we're focusing on creating helpful content, unique content, just doing things the way that we've been teaching it. And that's still been extremely effective. And so despite Google making updates, honestly, I think, say what you will about Google and what you think about them as a company and what they're trying to do, but I actually think that realistically, they're trying to provide the best content they can for people when they do their search. They want to make a good product for their customers. And I actually think that aligns pretty well with what we're trying to do.
Something really closely related to Google updates is kind of the rise to the top of the ranking page of big company websites or larger brands. A lot of small creators are really concerned that their content just won't be able to rank, that Google's really favoring these big websites.
And while we definitely see that, I honestly think that a few specific examples are probably driving a lot of that fear. So we do see this, right? You've seen this. You see everything in the health space. It's like if there's an article from WebMD, they rank at the top. So how do you possibly compete when there's somebody big in your niche? What we've seen is that Google is really trying to make sure that the content that they're providing is accurate. And so building up authority in your niche is important. But there are a lot of ways to do that. You don't have to be the biggest company. In fact, all the big companies and all the big websites once started out small too. But what we do have to do is we have to look at what factors show Google that we're reputable. And we've talked about so many of those things on this channel. There's so many things to do to improve our EEAT score, right, with Google. And one of them is simply just the content itself and making sure that we create enough of it and that we cover the topics that we're covering in depth and don't just be superficial.
Yeah, we do a lot of videos, or we have done a lot of videos recently about EEAT because it is so important. Google does see brand and large websites as something that's really important, and so we've been hammering on that. We want you to be successful, and we see how EEAT is impacting the industry, and how if you do it, it can really buoy up your website.
Absolutely. The next big concern that a lot of people have right now is just really high competition. This comes from, first of all, years of people knowing that this is somewhere you could come to make a good, fairly passive side income, right? It also has been exacerbated by AI because people can literally just produce hundreds of articles in the blink of an eye. And the reality here is there's a few things we need to consider. One, more content doesn't necessarily mean really higher competition. Like we talked about with authority, people who create commodity content, something that an AI could generate on its own, it's content that's not well interlinked, it's content that doesn't go in depth on a topic, and it doesn't build any real authority. And the majority of that content doesn't get any real traffic because it doesn't do well in search. I'm seeing this all the time, people telling me, well, I have 500 articles on my website, and I don't make nearly the money that you guys say I should make in your video that says how much bloggers are making.
Right.
Like, that's because you're not being a blogger. You are being a content machine that literally uses a machine to make content and then posts it. That's not what we're talking about here.
Well, and people who use AI generated content, they will have some success because content on the internet, we've seen it for years and years and years. Even really poorly done content will have some amount of success. But now where AI is a lot more mainstream, people are concerned a lot more about it because more people are doing it. If the owner of that website doesn't go in and significantly improve and add original value to those articles, they just don't perform as well.
The other aspect of competition is like the legitimate competition. And there are a lot more websites and there's a lot more content today than there was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. When you're considering what you want to do online, if you're blogging, creating content, you're thinking about like, what's my niche? What can I do? You kind of have a couple options. And what most people tend to do is they do what they saw worked for other people. If you think that because this trail has already been blazed, now it's an easy path, it is an easy path, and it's an easy path to guarantee that you will make very little money. Whereas if you can focus on kind of blazing your own trail, even if it's just a little bit different than everybody else, you get to reap the reward. Pioneers get to reap the reward when it comes to business. Find something that is reasonably unique. And that's how we deal with like the real competition, not the mass-produced AI stuff.
This isn't to say that you just totally shouldn't use AI.
Yeah.
AI is a tool. There are some people who have taken AI and they use it in every aspect of their business. That's not something that I would do because it's just not the right fit for every business task that I need to do. But it's not this horrible thing that you should totally stay away from. You should use it if it's helpful, but that's the key. Use it in a way that's actually helpful and provides real value.
Absolutely. Now, the next thing that I've heard, this is like a huge fear for some people, is that nobody's going to go to my blog post anymore because they're just going to ask AI. First of all, like, I get that. I understand why people would feel that way. But what we've seen over and over and over again is disruptive technologies that people thought were going to do essentially just that. People thought with Siri and Alexa, like, man, blogging's going to take a huge hit. It didn't, because Siri and Alexa don't do a very good job of answering your
questions. You ask them the same question 3 times and they don't quite get it. So you end up typing it in.
I even sometimes I'm like, hey, set a reminder. I was going to say the name, but see, she would literally answer and set a reminder. I'm not going to do that right now. But I can ask to set a reminder, and literally like half the words are just like wrong. And whatever, as long as it's enough to remind me, I don't really care. It's good enough, but it's not great. AI is making that better. But once again, all you're getting from AI is, let's take all the content that's out there that answers this question, and let's give the most average answer we can that doesn't really take a stance. And, it's just the very basic, like surface level answer. I've been playing around with the new Google search. I've been playing around with it quite a bit. And the AI powered snapshot that they give you is always just high level. Mm-hmm. And really, if all people want is a high level answer, the Google snippet's already been giving that. If they want any more depth, the AI powered snapshot isn't giving them much more than the snippet already was. All it's doing now is it's able to take pieces from multiple articles and put them together instead of just one little snapshot from one article. So it's a little bit better experience for the user. But I'm not seeing that it's answering my question sufficiently for me to stop researching because, I got 3 sentences that told me the answer.
The second part to this is that people are very slow to change their behavior.
Yes, they are.
It is something it's actually a lot of times comical to see people how slow they are to adapt to new technology or new anything. We humans don't like change.
Yeah.
And in this case, where this is something that's a pretty new technology, it's going to be quite a while before it is really, really ingrained in people to start using it. I mean, think of the term like, I'm going to go search something. We don't even say that. We say, I'm going to go Google something. I mean, we usually we use that as a verb now. And so that alone is just going to help. I don't know if delay is the right word, but it's just going to stretch that time where people start using AI. And I just think that, especially during that time, it gives us still opportunities to be very, very relevant.
And when we say they're slow, I'm not talking about like, it's going to be another 6 months or so after AI can do everything. I'm talking about it will be years that people will continue to read blog posts. And the reality is that even if AI gets better and better and better, people are going to want a human connection, and they're going to want to hear from other humans. And so human generated content, while it needs to adapt, is not going to disappear. I think the hypothesis that it's just we're not even going to need humans to create content. I don't buy that. I absolutely don't. And now if you're one of those early adopters of new things, you hear us saying this and you say, that's not true. I adopt everything right when it comes out, and that's fine. You probably have an iPhone 14, and that's great. But I still have an iPhone 12 because it works really, really, really well. And I'm not even a slow person, My mother-in-law, I love my mother-in-law. She got a smartphone because she was forced to, like a month ago, okay? Finally, we reached the point where she had to have one.
Yeah.
Most people are not early adopters. Most people aren't you. Most people aren't me either. And that's something that we all need to understand, is that if we make it the assumption that everybody else behaves the way that we do, we're probably not going to do very well in business.
All of these concerns that we've just kind of addressed here, they're all really valid. I mean, these are all things like when you're talking about starting a business, you would be stupid to not look at the things in your industry that are going to be of concern. But you also have to look at the other side. You also have to look at the reasons why, to see if the benefits outweigh the doubts, or the benefits outweigh the drawbacks, I should say. And in this case, we've identified some of the benefits of blogging and why it still makes sense to us.
I have to just really laugh whenever somebody says blogging is a stupid business. It's very risky. That just tells me that they either don't understand blogging as a business, or they don't understand what risk actually means.
Right.
So first of all, blogging has an extremely low financial barrier to entry. That's part of the reason there's so much competition. Mm-hmm. You don't need to spend a bunch of money to build this kind of a business. What are your alternatives to creating another income for yourself, for your family? If you want to start a business that's going to generate an income for you, in almost every case, you have to lay out a bunch of cash.
Yeah.
You can't do multi-level marketing without laying out a bunch of cash. And that's how you make so much money in multi-level marketing, because you get your 3 best friends to lay out a bunch of cash and you get a cut of it. And they all get their 3 best friends. And anyway, we're not going down that rabbit hole any further. The reality is, though, that most business opportunities that you're going to find that have a realistic chance of making you a good income are going to require you to lay out a bunch of cash. This absolutely does not. You need a domain name and you need hosting. And you could probably get by with a free theme today, because even the one that WordPress like gives you has full site editing now. And it's not as good as some of the really good themes, but man, it works just fine. You can make your website beautiful. You don't need anything fancy to get started. I think that in and of itself is amazing.
Also in blogging, it can have a great ROI, especially when you take into consideration that there is very low upfront costs. The return on your investment it will be so great, because really what it takes is a lot of upfront work. So while you don't necessarily need financial capital, you're going to need time.
Right.
But most of us have some time. I can look back over my weekend and say, oh, I spent a couple hours watching the TV. If I had spent that time writing a blog post, what would that blog post do for me in 8 months? And if we look at our lives in that way, like, it's not even, we are giving up some things, we are making an investment, but it just makes that ROI so sweet, that financial side of things, because you really had to put so little into it.
With the exception of like investing in index funds, any business you're going to restart is going to require time, and probably a lot more of it than you think. No matter how much, the person that sells you on this business model comes to you and says, it's not going to take much of your time. It is going to take your time. There's a reason that people are pitching you business ideas and they want you to do the legwork for it, is because they don't want to do it all themselves. If it took no time to start up a McDonald's franchise, one person would start up 5,000 McDonald's franchises, but they can't. In fact, McDonald's wouldn't even franchise it because it would be easier to do it themselves. Every business opportunity that you have in front of you is going to require time. And the more I think about it, the more I think that blogging, content creation, and video, whatever, content creation businesses aren't going to take up more of your time than any other good, legitimate business opportunity that you could possibly do. If you don't want to invest any time in making money, then you just need to have a whole bunch of money you can invest in index funds. There's like no other option.
Something else that is a big reason for me why I love blogging is being able to create a business on the topic of my choice.
It's amazing.
A lot of times we get people who comment on the channel or in Project 24, and they're talking about this niche that they are so passionate about. And so many of them are just so happy to be able to engage in their hobby and have the opportunity or a chance even to make some money from it. I think that that's such a cool thing. A lot of us, we go to school to do what we want to do, finance or, being a, law or an attorney. And that's good. And maybe for some people that is enough. But that's also really broad. What does the day-to-day look like? Do you, as a finance person, do you really love tax season when you're working tons and tons of overtime? Probably not. And that can be said about anything that you do. But I just think it's so cool that you get to start a business doing something that you love. It could be canoeing, it could be, snowboarding, it could be anything that you want that you could create a website on. And I just love that.
I talk to a lot of people who are business owners, and they're just like, it's really cool how much stuff I'm able to I can write off from a tax standpoint. If it's an expense that can be justified as a business expense, then cool, I can pay for that with tax-free money. It's amazing. Now imagine getting to do that with like your favorite hobbies or your favorite topics. Literally anything you buy related to your favorite hobby can now be justified as a business expense. It's pretty incredible. Now, another reason that blogging is actually still really working well for us and that we're excited about it is we're careful to not limit ourselves from a mindset standpoint. It's really easy to look at this and say, well, blogging, the way blogging was done 7 years ago, doesn't work that well today. Okay, sure, that's absolutely true. Neither does any business. The reality is that business, just like everything else, is constantly evolving. And so it's best to just not have such a limited mindset. Today If you are open to creating video content in addition to blog content, your chances of success and really like the time it's going to take to succeed, it's all going to go up. You'll probably be able to make a much better income too. So if that's in your wheelhouse, do that. If you can do podcasting, if you're into social media and you can engage with other people, there are so many different ways that you can be successful with content creation, and there's no one that you have to stick to. Just learn the ones that you really like and take advantage of multiple different forms of media, and your chances of success go way up. And frankly, I think it's more fun to do a mix.
These are the pros and cons for us. You know, we have our own fears. We have our own reasons for continuing blogging. I think you probably have your own fears and the reasons why you continue to try to blog. We'd love to hear it from you. You know, why are you still trying to make this work? We probably each have our own reasons, you know, we've done our own benefit versus cost analysis, and we'd love to hear it from you. What is it that keeps you blogging? For us, it's something that we love. It's something that we still see as an incredibly viable business model. And so we're going to keep doing it. I think probably the most appropriate way to wrap up this video is to share our 2023 complete blogging guide, where we show you from start to finish what you need to do to start a successful website.
Yeah, this is another one where you might want something to take notes with. We try to reserve our juiciest information for our Project 24 members, but we usually end up sharing a little bit more than we planned to. But hey, if it's gonna help you out, then it's totally worth it. So sit down, grab something to take notes, and follow along. Hey everybody, welcome to this video. This one is gonna be a little different than what you often see on this channel, and it's because we're gonna go through a whole bunch of stuff. We wanna show you literally our entire process that we've used over and over and over again to start a brand new blog from zero, even with no experience, and build it up to a full-time income in about 24 months. That's our goal here. Now I want to point out, we've done this a bunch of times now, but the first time I was just like you, wherever you're at right now. I had never done anything like this before. The idea of making money from the internet was like, okay, that's cool and all, but isn't it like super sketchy? And everything you do has to be really spammy and fake. You're gonna make a bunch of money maybe, but then it's all gonna come crashing down. That's the way the internet making money stuff works, right? But no, what we found here is an incredibly reliable, fantastic, and in a lot of ways, like really wholesome, good way to make great income from creating online content. I'm excited to share that with you today. So over the duration of this webinar, there are several things that you're gonna get. And the first thing that you're gonna get is our entire process. Step by step, this is our plan for how we help people over and over again to create a full-time income for themselves. But we really want you to be successful, so we're gonna help you out with just as much as we can give you.
We're gonna give you a timeline where you can actually know what to expect. One of the number one, if not the number one cause of failure for people is giving up and not even knowing how close they were. It's really important for us that you understand what to expect during this, because if you don't understand how long it could take or what the money-making process is, you could get discouraged and just burn out too fast.
I've had multiple people tell me, I wrote like 30 blog posts on my blog and I'm not getting any traffic yet and I'm really discouraged. I'm like, well, when did you write those? How long has it been? Oh, well, I wrote them all this month. Okay, you need to recognize that there is a timeline, that there's a certain amount of time that's just required before any of this really starts to work. And by knowing that, I can't tell you how many people have said, oh, I'm so excited. I'm on month 5 and I finally made $10. To someone from the outside, that would just sound insane. Why are you excited about that? The point is that when you hit that and you know what to expect, and you know that after that $10 comes 100 and then 500 and 1,000, and what to expect, gosh, it keeps you motivated to keep going, even those first couple of dollars. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna explain to you sort of the mix of content. So it's not just that we're saying, here's a process and here's what we teach, but also specifically, here's the types of content that you're gonna wanna make and how the content all fits together. This is a big update from what we've taught in the past. It's not just a matter of creating the right types of blog posts, but making sure that we create them on the right topics
and that we connect them in the right way.
The content is the bread and butter. We love creating content of all forms, but something you can take from this is that we're not only going to tell you to create content, but exactly to the very T, but what's going to work and work the fastest for you so that you can get to success as quickly as possible.
The other thing we want to make sure we cover in this webinar is just the entire game plan of how to be a content creator in the age of AI. A lot of people are afraid what happens when AI is producing all the content. But in this webinar, we will discuss that. We'll address that. What does it look like in the age of AI and going forward? I'm actually still really excited about the future of content. In fact, I think I'm more excited about it because AI is doing some things that are making it so I think we genuine content creators have just a much bigger opportunity for success.
We're gonna ask that you give us your attention. This is a longer video than we typically create, but there's gonna be so much value here. If you'll stick with us here, we can literally save you years of floundering trying to make something work that just won't. For us, we have a great plan and we're gonna share it with you today.
So first of all, for those of you who are new here, who are we? And why should you listen to anything we have to say? So I'll introduce myself. My name's Ricky. I have been a content creator. I've been making YouTube videos as well as been blogging for like 8 years now. And over that time, I've built multiple websites to great incomes, several, 5-figure per month type incomes just from those blogs. I've built numerous sites that we've sold, totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars. One in particular that we sold, camperreport.com, is awesome. Great website, but very simple, about literally campers and RVs that sold for over $300,000. And you see this process and recognize that that site was built following a very, very simple process. You'll recognize just kind of how possible it is for you. And I think what's even cooler than the fact that we've done this so many times is when we see our members, Project 24 members. We have a thread in the community of where people share just exciting news and success stories. And we've had several people post about selling their own blogs that they've created for hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's just, oh man, I almost get goosebumps every time that I see a post like that.
It's honestly the best part.
I just want to, shout for joy. So that's what's going on. This definitely works. So yeah, I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm also a pretty average guy. I worked a normal job for a long time. I started this business. I started blogging on the side. I started creating YouTube channels, literally with my buddy, my friend, Jim, who helped me. The two of us founded this business together and created these processes. And we did that like getting together one night a week for a couple hours. This doesn't have to totally like take over or dominate your whole life because I can show you, I did it that way too. Building it up from just my free time and turning it into what it is today.
And I'm Nathan. I wrote my first blog post in 2014. And ever since then, I was 14 years old at that point. I was really young and I always thought, man, this would be so cool to be able to do, but I knew it wasn't reality. I grew up, I went to college, I got my degree, and I ended up finding a way to build blogs, websites, and other forms of online media full time, and it's just awesome.
It really is a really fun and exciting way to work. So now that you know a little bit about us and why we know the things that we know, we're gonna go ahead and dive in and share with you basically how all of this works. All right, so this is what you really came for, is to find out like, how are we doing all of this stuff? Now, some of you are familiar with blogging and you just wanna know what does the process look like. But for those of you who are less familiar and just wanna understand, how does this work? How do you write a blog post and then the internet like sends you money? So we're gonna explain just a little bit how this works. This is how blogs make money. It's a pie. The first way that most blogs are making money, and I have this as a smaller piece of the pie, but the easiest thing that you can do basically is just regular old advertising on your website. Google provides ads. They're the main company that people go to advertise on the internet. But they provide those ads through other companies that make it really easy for us to just say, put them on my site, and then you can have control over where they go. And then you just get ads showing up, and they decide which ads to show to which people and all of that stuff. And you just get to collect a paycheck. It's like, I wrote a blog post and the internet sends me money.
In the past, access to advertising on your websites, especially for small or beginning creators, just wasn't the same as it is today. You as a small creator can get advertisements on your website so that you can start making money earlier than you ever have before.
It's really cool because For a long time, you could put Google ads on your website, but they were never optimized. But what's happened is there's all these different ways that companies are deciding which ads to place on your website, where to put them, that's so much more optimized that now it's actually worth putting ads on your website. For years, we didn't even teach this step because it wasn't worth it. The next way that we're making money from websites, and this is piece of the pie number 2, is affiliate marketing. If you're not familiar with what affiliate marketing is, basically you recommend a product that you think would be a good fit for your viewers or your readers. If they click your link to purchase the product, you get a commission. Basically, you're kind of like a salesman for that product, but you don't actually have to work for them and you get to sell it however you want to.
And I think this is a great way, first of all, to make money online because you have the ability to provide value. When we look at selling things or being salespeople or being affiliates, we think, oh yeah, great opportunity for money, but you can do it in a way that provides value for people.
Yes.
Anyway, that's how I like to look at it, but it's also really financially rewarding as well.
That's really what our process looks like is we choose to go information first, focus on being extremely helpful, and basically because of that, we actually end up doing a lot better with affiliate marketing because your content is so much more trustworthy. Now, there are a lot of bloggers who that's the whole pie right there, ads and affiliate marketing, and it's amazing because they're both incredibly passive. But there's another huge piece here, and this is information products. This is something we do a ton of and that we specialize in really at Income School. Many Project 24 members have done the same thing, and what you do essentially is take information on the topic, right, that you have your website about. You picked your niche, you've got a great topic, and then what you do is you package up some form of information, often in the form of a course, sometimes even simple as an ebook. Sometimes an audio guide. There's so many different ways to create an information product, but you package it up in a way that is so incredibly helpful. And the cool thing is unlike advertising and affiliate marketing where you make pennies off of each person who interacts, with info products, it's your product. You get to keep all of the value of your hard work and gathering up this audience. You get to advertise your own product. And it's a fantastic way to make a substantial income. Oftentimes, these end up being even smaller slivers because the info product does so well. So this is what we teach. We teach exactly how to monetize websites, and this is how blogs are making money. This is how the internet pays us.
There are a lot of other ways you can make money on a blog, but these are some of the best ways that we have found to make money, and so we have to share them with you.
Absolutely. Now, I also want to highlight, before we jump into the step-by-step, like what we're doing here, I want to highlight what's changing. We've done videos like this in the past where we walked through our process, so why is this one any different? There are a few big changes that have come to blogging and that are going to continue to be developments as we move forward. The first one is that search is changing. This isn't brand new. For a long time, people were really heavily focused on keywords and making sure that your blog posts had specific words in them enough times that Google would recognize those keywords and you would rank when those words showed up in search. For a long time now, Google's been very much based around specific search queries, not specific words in those search queries. So it's about what is the question and what does that question mean? This is moving further with AI. Right now, Google is working on, and we've been able to beta test this new search engine, this new process that essentially, it does a couple of things. One, it does provide an AI-generated answer to search queries in addition to all of the rankings that show up on the search result page. But the other thing that it does is it takes the search query people are asking and it understands it so much better than before. This is what we're calling semantic search. It's not about a specific search query that's worded in a specific way. It's about the intent behind the search. So when somebody does a search on Google moving forward, we're gonna wanna make sure that we answer those questions in a great and thorough and helpful way, but that we don't get too hung up on the way they word their questions. This is a change, but for what we've been doing at Income School, it's not that big of a change.
The next thing is AI, and AI is something that is just infiltrating the industry and really so many industries, but specifically AI and how it impacts content. Now you can go on, use an AI tool to create hundreds of articles in the time that it would take a regular person to create 1 or 2 or 3 articles rather than trying to outrun the AI at this point. But now being a great blogger is about standing out. And standing out means creating great, helpful content that's going to show the user, to show the searcher that you have the answer that they're looking for.
And that right there is what this channel is really all about. And really a lot of what Project 24 is about too. That is just teaching you how to create really good content that stands out and teaching you how to know what content is needed on the web. So that's what we're here for. If that's what you want, make sure you keep watching this video as well as the rest on the channel. The third big change is something that Google's been really focused on for a while now, over the last year or so, and this has really been disruptive to a lot of people who have been blogging, really in a way that, I don't know, I'm kind of okay with the fact that it's really not working out for that type of blogging. Google is highly focused on ensuring that the content that is surfacing is really helpful content. Now, they don't always get it right. People are like, oh, Google's just showing like the biggest companies. Their websites just rank the most. That comes down to a principle called EEAT. It's one we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. And really it is that for certain search queries, they just need to know that this source of information is authoritative and trustworthy. You can be authoritative and trustworthy without being a big company, and we're going to teach you how to do that. But the second thing, and the helpful content thing, what Google's really concerned with is not showing up a bunch of content on the first page of Google that is all exactly the same. For years now, bloggers have been taking what other bloggers wrote and rewriting it in their own words, sometimes using tools to do it for them. And so the whole first page of Google was starting to get filled up with basically carbon copies of the same blog post. That does nobody any good. And so if the content doesn't have some unique benefit for the internet, Google is often not only not going to show that on the first page of Google, they're not even going to include that content in their index. And that's why we focus so much here at Income School on creating as helpful a content as we possibly can, and that's why our members are so successful.
Okay, I have a question for you. What's something that you have just researched to death? Something that you have Googled over and over, maybe 10 or 20 different ways just to find the right answer, or an answer that actually helps you. But as you searched and searched and searched, you just didn't find the answer you were looking for. I'd love to hear what those are in the comments below. I know that that happens to me, not all the time, but there are definitely times where I am looking for an answer that I just can't find. So let us know if you've had that experience, because it's very possible that that could be a great place to start.
It's amazing that given the sheer amount of content that's created every single day, that this ever happens anymore. And a lot of people tell me all the time, like, there's no more space. Everything's covered. There's nothing more to say. That's just so far from what we experience. Anytime that you've discovered this situation, that's a search query, that is a question or a problem that still needs to be solved on the internet, and you could be the one to solve it. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to introduce you to sort of the timeline of expectations. These are nicely color-coded for you to fit the phases of building a blog that we're going to be talking about over the next several minutes, okay? So you can see that they're not only color-coded, but they're also drawn to scale. The early phases that we're about to talk about take a very short amount of time. You complete them pretty quickly. Basically, what I want you to do is I want you to see, first of all, how long each one of these takes and just what you should expect for yourself. Oftentimes, people have really high expectations for themselves of one, what they're going to be able to accomplish, and two, what the results will be, how quickly they're going to start getting lots of traffic to their blog, and how quickly it's going to start making them a lot of money. This is a process that we specifically plan on taking a full 24 months to reach a full-time income. That's for a reason, but the most beautiful thing about this is, while it's not get rich quick, it's a process that's very repeatable, and that basically, like, as you build this up, you can have a great sustainable income for a long period of time, especially if you follow those principles we talked about of creating really helpful content and content that's unique. So without any further ado, let's jump into the process, like what this is gonna look like. So at the very beginning of your blog, you'll notice this like little sliver over here. It's only like a week, right? The first phase that we go through when building a blog, we call it the compass phase, because it's about steering and giving us direction. This is actually a phase we come back to, because later on, there's times when it makes sense to go back and sort of revisit your blog, the direction you're taking, and to look through old content and revitalize some of it and find ways to improve it. But in the very beginning, you should only spend a week on this phase, because what we're gonna do here is we're gonna pick the niche that we're gonna go into, and then we are going to move on it. One of the biggest issues that we see is that people get hung up here and they spend so long not knowing, am I in the perfect niche? Is this just right? Should I try? Should I not try? And 6 months go by and nothing is done. It is far better to be 50% sure and to just dive in. You can figure out pretty fast once you get started if it was the right niche or not. So just do that and you'll get it figured out sooner. Even if you waste a month going down the wrong path, you'll be 5 months ahead of where you'd been if you just did nothing.
Something that we've seen over and over again is that if people will just start and then start writing the content, start getting that traffic, they will find a way to make it successful monetarily.
Yeah.
It's just that so many people overthink the process of choosing the niche, because there are a lot of good options out there. It's just that not one is ever going to be perfect. And so you just gotta dive in, and that's why we only spend a week on this. We only wanna give you a week on this because it's too easy to overthink.
A lot of people think that there's a perfect niche. We'll get asked all the time, like, what's the best niche, or what's a good niche for 2023? My answer is, well, what are you interested in? My number one criterion for picking a good niche for a blog, even for a YouTube channel, for content creation, is to pick a topic that you're interested in. That way you can be excited to work on this rather than have to dread it every time you have to sit down and write another article about a topic you don't care about. So start by thinking about things you're excited about. What are those things you have researched to death on Google? And start there. That could be a fantastic place to find your niche.
That takes us to phase number 2, the starter phase. Actually, this phase is really, really important. Time-wise, it is one of the smaller. It's about a month span, but you're gonna do some very, very key things during this that will help launch you to success. And the first one is search analysis or keyword research. Keyword research is something where you are taking your niche and you're diving into it and you're finding out, what should you write? What's the content that's needed on the search engine ranking page? What is the content people are looking for? And it's a very strategic process that we take to find out these answers. We're looking at competition analysis. We're looking at search volume. We're seeing what other people have written to see how we can level up our content. We're doing all of this analysis to find exactly what's going to be the best content for us to write.
At a high level, the goal here is just to find topics that people are actually searching for, and then figuring out which of those have gaps that we can fill. Not even necessarily that nobody's answered that question, but that it's not answered satisfactorily. So that's the first step here in this starter phase, is figuring out those topics where there are gaps on the web. But jumping over to the other side, TA. Topical authority is another thing that we really dive into a lot in this phase. And that is ensuring that we create enough content on any particular aspect of our niche that we have real depth. Google doesn't like to see websites that are super shallow, that only cover the surface level. So what do? We take the ideas we've discovered, those questions where we can fill in the blanks. And then based on those topics, we say, well, what are the most common other questions people ask that are closely related to these ones? And we create content answering those questions too, even if there's already other content on the web answering the same question.
Okay, this is really, really important. This is more important than ever. And we mentioned earlier how much Google is emphasizing this.
Yes.
But now more than ever, it's rather than just throwing spaghetti on the wall and finding, even if they're good topics, it's so important to create content in clusters so that you can actually gain some of that authority.
Absolutely. It used to be that this was something we recommended. In fact, a year ago, when we did a huge update to our whole blogging system, we started talking about topical authority. We put these lessons in, and I don't think that we stressed enough just how important it was. And today, especially with the way that AI is moving in, I think it's more and more and more important. It actually allows us to be able to create authority without necessarily having to create hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of blog posts. We just be more strategic about which ones we write. The next thing that we do in this phase is we start posting content. Write a blog post. We have an entire recipe for exactly how we write the most basic form of blog post. We just start with the simple question. We answer that question right off the bat in a very short, concise paragraph. And then we break down what are the caveats or what are the pieces of that question that we could dive into with more depth. And those become the subheadings. And then we have 3-4 subheadings in a blog post. And each one of those subheadings is followed up by a couple paragraphs that answer that sort of sub question. Very simple and very straightforward, but this format, I can't tell you just how valuable that is. By having this sort of a format, we've sped up the time that it takes to write dramatically because we just have a plan. We have been able to rank very consistently for these particular keywords or these particular searches that we target because of the way we're answering the question quickly right off the bat. Google finds that really helpful. By the way, that also gets your content featured either as a featured snippet often or in the new Google AI generated snapshot. This approach to writing blog posts has just been incredible.
And I think it's important to mention really quick that the reason why this recipe has worked so well is that over the years we have researched and tested and researched to figure out what the best format for a blog post is. Yeah. And you may have heard the term SEO. This is on-page SEO. Yeah. That's exactly what this blog post recipe is we found the most helpful way. And not only is it great for Google, they love how helpful it is, and that's why it ranks, but it's also a great user experience, which is the other half of the coin.
It's SEO too that doesn't really get outdated. Yes. There's so much to SEO that's taught that is trying to understand the way the algorithm works and then manipulate that algorithm. Try to pass the test by beating the test. Instead, what this is doing is it's ensuring that you're passing the test because you know the answers to the test. You're doing exactly what the test is testing for.
Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
That's how it's supposed to work. That's how tests are designed. It works so much better than trying to game the system. And we're not the only ones that say that, but man, like some of the best influencers I know in all of content creation have come to that exact same conclusion. Stop trying to beat the test, just ace the test because you know exactly how to create that kind of content. All right, in this phase, that whole first month, I don't expect you to go write 30 blog posts, one a day. It's a lot, especially when you're learning how to create that kind of content and when you're learning how to find the right topics. Really what we're usually searching for is around 10 blog posts in that first month, which might feel like a ton, but I would encourage you to not spend 6, 8, 10 hours on a single blog post. Try to do it in 2 or 3, see if that's feasible. I write that style of blog post typically in about an hour, and then I might spend a little bit more time on formatting or going to get original photos. But other than that, I'm not spending more than about an hour writing them. If you can do it in 2 or 3, you're gonna be in a really good shape. All right, let's talk about phase 3. At this point, we call this the ignition phase, and it's really at this point that we're going all in. We're diving in deeper. So in this stage, we're gonna be creating a lot more content. At this point, I do want you creating a lot more blog posts and trying to write every day or 2 a different blog post that you can publish.
One of the best ways to create large amounts of content is to just totally immerse yourself into the niche. If it's not something you're inside every single day, it's going to be hard to come up with those topics and to find the inspiration to write. I personally find that if I replace my, what I would call free time with my immersion that needs to happen in my niche, I end up learning so much, and then the blog post writing just comes naturally. I think this is probably one of the only sustainable ways to write the amount of content that you need to write during this phase.
During this phase, we're also gonna learn the basics of monetization. We're gonna potentially put ads on the site. We usually hold off until we're getting around 1,000 page views a month as a minimum. Anywhere from 1 to 10,000 page views a month. You're not earning a lot from those ads, but it can be incredibly motivating to earn those first few dollars. So wherever you are in that stage when you get there, when you're just like, I'm feeling frustrated, it's not going super fast, maybe that's a good time to go ahead and put ads on your website, start making some money. The other thing that we're gonna start doing during this phase is affiliate marketing. As you create content, you're gonna see opportunities to make recommendations of products. We actually, in Project 24 and on this YouTube channel, teach 4 distinct strategies for how we implement affiliate marketing. It's not always just writing a regular old product review. That's one way that we approach it, but sometimes it's just giving a helpful link. It's saying, you know what, if you're doing this, you're gonna need this tool. Here's where I would go buy the tool. It's right here on Amazon. Just buy this one and you're good to go. There are those distinct strategies.
We're not gonna dive in usually super deep on that in this phase, but I want you to at least, as you create content, start including those affiliate links.
Some of the things you'll start doing during this phase, like learning about monetization and maybe even implementing, it's really, really important that you have these foundations, that you are practicing the implementation, but even more importantly, learning about how it all works. What are the strategies that work best for affiliate marketing? What gets people to click? How can I be most helpful? These are things you're gonna be learning and practicing while you don't have a ton of traffic, so it's not gonna hurt too bad if you mess up a little bit.
Exactly. And we're gonna, again, spend just a couple months in this phase creating additional content, following that basic post recipe, and just doing some basic monetization. But mostly, I think one of the best things we can do, Nathan hit on it, was immersing yourself as much as you can in that niche. The more time that you can spend just being in the niche, the more it's gonna set you up for the rest of this stuff, and the less time that you're gonna have to spend researching for every individual blog post. That's gonna set you up for phase number 4, the traction phase. In the traction phase, this is where we're gonna dive deeper and create more in-depth content, and where you're gonna be able to create much more original content. With the stuff we've done so far, you're mostly gonna be trying to answer specific questions that maybe don't have great answers yet. And that's the unique value that you're gonna add through your own website. But at this phase, 1, as you've been immersing yourself in your niche, and 2, as you follow the different strategies we have for doing unique and original research, you're gonna be able to create different content that dives a lot deeper into your niche. You're also gonna learn about lots of different formats and structures for blog posts. A lot of these posts will be longer, but a lot of them won't necessarily be, they'll just be a lot more in-depth and contain that unique and original value from that original research that you're doing.
It's important that you learn and understand this type of post, this more in-depth type of post now, rather than in the beginning, because in the beginning, you're just so focused on learning how to write a blog post. You're so focused on, oh, how do I set up my website? There's all these little things. There's a little bit of a learning curve. But by the time you get to this phase, you're gonna be ready to write posts that are just meaty and so incredibly helpful, that have the potential to drive more traffic and have more monetization opportunities. These are pillars on your website.
Really, in this phase, you're gonna write a lot of the content that is ever gonna be on your website. Not to say that you won't necessarily continue adding more content to it, maybe even forever. But there comes a point oftentimes where it makes more sense to just keep content up to date than to just add hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of blog posts to a website. So a lot of the content's gonna happen in this phase, and it's, again, having that foundation of solid content is gonna set you up really well for the future phases of this website.
Earlier, we mentioned AI and the impact that it's having on the industry. This right here is where you learn how to beat AI and write much more helpful content than it ever will. And that's because you're doing that original research, you're diving in deeper, and you're actually adding value. You're adding things that are not already out there. And that's how you're gonna end up standing out.
And this isn't to say that our whole process is anti-AI. Right. And it's not to say that AI can't be a tool that you use to facilitate this process of creating this content. However, AI can't do the original research. AI won't add that unique value, and AI doesn't have personality, even if it tries to pretend that it does. In some cases, this is where you can take, even if you use AI to help you in the process, this is where you're gonna learn and you're gonna gain a lot of practice in making your content truly original and unique and adding that personal touch.
There are a lot of tools that we can use as bloggers, and AI is one of them. There are definitely places where AI can totally help your creation process. This is a lot of work. This is not easy. And so anything that we can do to improve that process but still maintain the value is super important. And you're gonna learn those things along the way. Those are things that will come as you immerse yourself in the blogging niche, as you learn about your own niche that you're writing about.
I don't know how good of a job we're doing of convincing people to do this by telling them how much work this is. But the reality is that building something, 1, that matters, that you can be proud of, but 2, building something that earns a good income, both repeatably and sustainably. Like repeatably as in, I can show you a process and you can do it, and if you do it right, it's gonna work almost every time. I have to say almost because there's a lot of it that depends on you. But it's a very repeatable process, I know, because we've literally helped thousands of members of Project 24 to do exactly this. But I mean it's sustainable also because it's something that when you do it right, the income continues for a long time. Websites that we built 5, 6, 7 years ago today are still earning a great income. Even ones we've sold off to other people, we touch base with them and they're like, oh yeah, it's earning a ton of money. It's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on to phase number 5. In this phase, we call this the momentum phase. One of the main things that we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna build up EEAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. We actually have a whole, well, it's a mini course, but it's like 50 lessons or something inside of Project 24 that goes through a lot of different ways that you can establish that you have experience, expertise, authoritativeness, or trustworthiness. By working through many of those steps, essentially what's gonna happen is your blog, potentially you as a person, are going to gain a reputation with Google, with search engines. And by gaining that reputation, they're going to trust you to the point that you can literally just publish an article one day and it's just, boom, it's ranking the same day or the next day. They don't even have to question that you know what you're talking about or that the information is accurate. They just trust you. It's pretty incredible, and that's why it's momentum. It really drives you forward.
Now this phase is kind of long in the grand scheme of things. We're spending a lot of time here. There's a lot going on. We're establishing this EEAT. We're also continuing to create, surprise, a lot more content. You have to write a ton of posts. And so you're gonna continue strategizing your content production so that you can be as effective as possible. That might even look like outsourcing content potentially. But something else that we're gonna do, again, to help establish EEAT, something that we have found to be so helpful and so effective, is participate in other forms of media. And our personal favorite at this point in time is YouTube. Making videos, and even if you're not wanting to be a YouTuber, making videos that you could embed in your articles, you are just adding so much value to those articles. And rather than embedding somebody else's video and sending traffic over to them, you're actually making the most of the work that you're doing by creating a holistic resource for a viewer, for a searcher who needs to find an answer.
One of the biggest problems I think with a lot of bloggers is that they're doing this specifically like just to make money, which is great. That's why we do what we do, right? But that's the only reason. Oftentimes the topic is meaningless to them. It's just a matter of which topic can make me the most money, and that's why they've chosen it. And when that's the case, they often create content that when you read it and you actually know something about the niche, you read it and you say, has this person ever actually done this before? I do that like all the time. I search a question on a topic I know a lot about, but I just need that answer to that question. And I start reading it and I'm like, it's obvious to me that the writer of this blog post has never actually done this before. And then I click the next one and it's obvious to me the writer of this blog post has never done it before. And guess where AI is getting the answers when they answer questions in Google or when they write their own blog posts? They're getting it from all these people who've never done it before. That's where we can add real value to the internet and turn it into a much better place, is by actually doing the things we talk about. And the best way to show that is by showing them that in a video. It's so much harder to fake it, which is why it's so much better to do. So if you're like, nope, no way, I'm never doing that, that's fine. You can make it through this whole process. We have many members of Project 24 who earn a full-time income, make great money, and have never been on camera, never once in their lives. But this, in that phase, we're gonna show you how. And hopefully you'll take us up on that. All right, let's move on to the next phase. This is the revenue phase. We're gonna spend like 5 months in this phase. In this phase, of course, we're continuing to write content. We're also probably going back to the compass phase. In fact, we usually do that kind of toward the end of each of these phases now. And we're going through a battleship audit. And in this audit, essentially what we're doing is going through our content. We have a very methodical and straightforward, streamlined way to identify which blog posts have an opportunity to be revitalized or revamped or just updated or fixed in a way that could potentially drive a lot more traffic to your website. What we're doing at this point is we're using our own analytics, our own traffic data to determine which articles we really could have got a lot more traffic with, but we just didn't quite hit the mark, or we've kind of dropped off over time. So as we go through that, instead of writing a ton more content, we're often going through and either fixing content we already have or determining that, these topics on my website were really good. This whole category did not do well at all. It allows you to be more strategic about the content you make going forward, so it's even less of a throwing spaghetti at the wall
to see what sticks.
This is probably one of the most exciting phases because of this
I
right here.
Talk about that
like,
piece.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, right? But this is so key. If you look at the entire plan here, we've been setting the stage for this. Because without all of this, plans you have with monetization, it means nothing. Cool, you put affiliate links on your website, but you have 10 page views a month. It's just not going to do anything. But after you've done the work and built this foundation, you are ready to strategize, you're ready to optimize. And that's what's going to happen here is you're going to find out what is working really, really well by using your analytics, by going in and seeing what articles are performing really well, what has more monetization opportunity than the others, what can I interlink to and from to make sure that everything's pointed in the right direction to give me the best monetization opportunity.
Exactly.
It's super exciting.
You know, people ask like, okay, but when can I start to expect that I'll make money? And honestly, it's probably somewhere here, not probably, for most people, it definitely falls here in phase 4. And that's like 4, 5, 6 months in. We've had the odd person who at 6 months in was at a full-time income. It's happened. We've also had the people who at 6 months in are still earning nothing. It's totally normal. And that's because all we're doing is that, and we're not getting a lot of traffic yet. What happens though, is that somewhere usually in here, probably, late in this phase or somewhere in this phase, the things you did here start to really make a difference. Also, the fact that you have as much content as you have and you've built up topical authority, now there's a level of trust established. And you see the traffic on your website do this. It goes up, and it does that. And when that's happening, we're well positioned for that. You might wonder, if info products make so much money, why don't we just make one from the beginning? There's a really good reason for that. And that is that when you don't have an audience yet, you don't know what they want. You won't know which categories on your website will do the best. You won't know which blog posts are gonna do the best on your website until they do the best on your website. And it can take that whole first year to really get to a point where you can see that. But once you start to see which topics on your website are driving a lot of traffic, suddenly it's really easy to see which questions that are the most popular. It's easy to see, if I'm getting all this traffic here, wow, these are all people that I could point toward a really cool resource I could make for them. So then we build out an info product, our own resource that we can provide to them to solve their problem, to fix this thing for them, and to make you a fantastic income. That's why this is so exciting.
Well, that leaves us with phase 7 here, which we call authority. And there are some really important decisions to be made here. You've come all this way, you're making money now, and there's some decisions to make what you want the blog to look like from now on.
Yeah, honestly, there are a couple of different major options you could take at this path. There's like this road diverging, right? And some people will go the route of, I want to stay really passive, but I want to grow. So maybe I'll add more content to this site, or maybe I'll just start a second one. And maybe what I could do is, since I know how all this works, I can outsource the writing. Maybe I can hire someone to be an editor that just makes sure that all the blog posts are in the format that I want. And I can just kind of run this as a business, and I can probably spend 4 hours a week on it, and I'm just gonna enjoy life. Maybe I'll even keep my job because just rake in a great income and keep this as a passive side thing.
You might also decide to take it a little bit more serious. And when I mean serious, I mean working on it more.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
There are those people who just want to kind of live the blogger lifestyle, and that's awesome. Just a little bit more passive, but there's also a huge opportunity for brand building here. And that's when we're looking at things like these info products, maybe memberships. Your monetization options start opening up, and while it is more hands-on, the earning potential is amazing.
Exactly. That's the route that I went, right? Teaching people how to blog, we got to a point where it was like, well, I could just make a good passive income. I could collect affiliate revenue from recommending, hosting to people, maybe recommending camera gear to people. But instead, we went the path of creating an info product that we turned into a membership. And that membership has now turned into a business that employs multiple people. And so now that's something that's really meaningful to me, to be able to help provide an income for multiple people, but also it allows me to reach and really help a lot of people like you watching this video who want to learn about all this stuff. It allows me to be able to create YouTube videos like this one totally for free, but it also allows me to create a fantastic, complete membership program
that can walk people through step by step by step by step and give them the support and the resources they need. Speaking about that, I think it is time. We've mentioned Project 24 so many times throughout this. I know that probably makes it sound like this is just a sales pitch. This process, understanding the timeline and understanding the order of things alone, that alone could help you to take all the things I've given you for free on YouTube and to structure them in a way that you could be successful with this. But also, we have created Project 24. I do want you to know what that is. It is a membership. In Project 24, we have a whole blogging system that is literally step by step by step by step showing you exactly how to do each one of these things and walking you through the whole process. We also have a YouTube system that does the same thing for anybody who's interested in creating a content business, but would rather go the video route than the blogging route. We also have so many, I mentioned the EEAT mini course, we have our battle shipping mini course. We have so many other courses that cover specific nuances, monetization, affiliate marketing, and all that kind of stuff. And that's to make sure that you have everything you need as you work through this entire timeline. We also we have a community for these members that's incredibly active and people who are so supportive of each other. We share in each other's success. That's where you guys saw on screen when a member said that they made a bunch of money when they sold their site. That's where they came to celebrate with other people who understood what they were going through. We have other resources for you. We do mastermind sessions where we answer your questions. You can literally come to a virtual meeting with us and ask your question, and we will answer it personally. We have a podcast that comes out 3 times a month. We talk about blogging. 3 times a month, we talk about YouTube. There's so many resources available to you. I'm not even listing all of them. That's what it is. And the reason that we have this is to help you succeed. My goal is to help you to do this in under 24 months. That's what I want to achieve. We have had members who have told us, one in particular that, these are the numbers that this person told me. I was blogging for 7 years and was never successful. I joined Project 24 and 1 year later was at a full-time income. That's what happens when you have a process. And that's why we created it for you. So if I can help you get there a year sooner or 7 years sooner, or even 1 month sooner, the amount of money you'll make sooner is way more than what it's gonna cost you to join Project 24. So I encourage you to do that. Whether or not you're considering Project 24 though, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us and watching this video. But also make sure that you check out the rest of the content on this channel that's completely free and that usually doesn't try to sell you Project 24, because that content is gonna help you to be much more successful with each one of these steps.
All right, well, this has been a lot of fun. I always enjoy looking back at the things that we've accomplished. I think one of the best things that we can do is exactly that. It's really easy. In fact, I got this from a book. It's a concept from Dan Sullivan, which is basically like the best way to compare and to see how our progress is to not compare ourselves to other people or compare ourselves to goals that we have for the future, but to look at where we were in the past. And so as we look back over the year, it's really cool to see how far we've come and how far so many of you have come. And I'm excited that based on that, we can now make some big plans for the future. I'm excited to see what 2024 holds. I think it's gonna be a big, exciting year. And I hope that you can make a mental note of where you are right now, and then make some goals, short-term specific goals. And then as you look back, you'll be able to see that progress happening for yourself. It's real and you're getting somewhere, even if, the big audacious goal you have for the future, even if it always seems farther away, it's usually because that goal tends to evolve and grow as we get better. You've come a lot further than you think you have, and you are going to be incredible. We'll see you all in 2024.